true scary stories for sleep. Welcome to the Midnight Echoes. Before we dive into tonight's stories, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and what time is it there? Drop a comment below. It's always fascinating to see where our viewers are tuning in from. If you enjoy the stories, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get comfortable, unwind, and prepare for tonight's eerie adventures. Living in a remote cabin in Elbert, Colorado seemed like a dream come true for our family. The stunning views and serene surroundings promised a peaceful life away from the hustle and bustle of the city. But as we settled into our new home, tranquility was replaced by a series of eerie and chilling events that turned our dream into a nightmare. The isolation, which had once felt comforting, now created a sense of haunting vulnerability. The first signs of trouble came as strange noises in the night. It started with faint whispers and the sound of footsteps echoing through the halls. At first, we dismissed them as the house settling or animals outside. The noises grew louder and more persistent. The eerie feeling of being watched became constant, sending chills down our spines. Every night, the phenomena seemed to intensify, making it impossible to relax. One evening, as we sat by the fireplace, we heard a loud bang from the garage. My husband and I exchanged nervous glances, deciding to investigate. The garage was empty, but the air was thick with an unsettling presence. The doors were locked, and there was no sign of an intruder. The eerie feeling of being watched was almost tangible, making the hair on the back of my neck stand up. We returned to the living room, but the sense of unease lingered. As the days passed, the strange occurrences continued. Objects would move on their own, doors would open and close, and we would hear faint voices whispering our names. The atmosphere in the cabin grew increasingly oppressive, filled with a chilling energy. The children started to have nightmares, waking up in the middle of the night, screaming about shadowy figures. The haunting presence was becoming impossible to ignore. One night, we decided to set up cameras to capture the strange events. What we saw in the footage was both chilling and haunting. Shadows moved across the walls, and objects shifted without any apparent cause. The whispers were audible, though the words were indistinguishable. The evidence confirmed our worst fears. Something paranormal was happening in our home. The realization left us feeling vulnerable and scared. Seeking help, we reached out to a local paranormal investigator. He arrived with his team and conducted a thorough investigation. As they set up their equipment, the cabin seemed to come alive with eerie energy. The investigator's face grew pale as he reviewed the readings, confirming the presence of multiple entities. The spirits were restless, drawn to the isolation of the cabin. His findings were both validating and terrifying. The investigator suggested a cleansing ritual to try and rid the cabin of the spirits. We agreed, desperate for peace. The ritual was intense, filled with chanting and the burning of sage. The air grew thick with smoke, and the atmosphere became almost electric. As the ritual progressed, eerie noises intensified, culminating in a chilling scream that echoed through the house. Then, as suddenly as it had started, noise stopped, and the cabin fell into an eerie silence. For a few days, the cabin felt peaceful, the oppressive energy seemingly lifted. But the haunting presence returned, more aggressive than before. The children's nightmares grew worse, and we started to feel physical touches, cold, ghostly hands brushing against us. The investigator suggested that we might need to leave the cabin, as the spirits were too powerful to be removed. The thought of abandoning our home was heartbreaking, but the safety of our family came first. We made the difficult decision to move out, leaving the haunted cabin behind. The process of packing was filled with a mix of relief and sadness. The cabin, which had once promised a peaceful life, was now a place of fear and haunting memories. We relocated to a nearby town, hoping to start anew. The move brought a sense of relief, but the experience had left a lasting impact on all of us. In our new home, the eerie events ceased. The memory of the haunted cabin lingered. The children gradually recovered from their nightmares, and our lives slowly returned to normal. Sharing our story with friends and neighbors, we received a mix of sympathy and skepticism. The experience had changed us, deepening our bond and our understanding of the unknown. The haunted cabin in Elbert became a part of our family lore. Chilling reminder of the mysteries that can lurk in the most serene places. Reflecting on the experience, we realized the strength it had brought out in us. The haunted cabin had tested our courage and resilience, and we emerged stronger for it. The haunting memories served as a testament to our ability to face and overcome fear. The cabin, once a symbol of our dream life, was now a reminder of the supernatural forces that can exist just beyond our understanding. Driving home late at night in rural Georgia was usually a peaceful experience. But one evening, my senior year of high school, that all changed. The winding roads were bathed in the pale light of the full moon, casting eerie shadows across the landscape. The trees on either side of the road seemed to close in, creating a tunnel of darkness. I enjoyed these drives. This night felt different, almost haunting. Little did I know, I was about to experience something chilling and unforgettable. As I navigated the familiar route, I noticed a large, dark figure moving along the side of the road. First, I thought it was a stray dog, or perhaps a deer. But as I drew closer, the figure stood up on its hind legs. My heart skipped a beat as I realized it was a massive black wolf, but its stance was unnaturally upright, almost human-like. The sight was both terrifying and mesmerizing. The creature's eyes glowed eerily in the headlights, and it stared directly at me. I slowed the car, unable to look away from those piercing eyes. The wolf's face contorted into what seemed like a sinister grin, revealing sharp, gleaming teeth. My mind raced, trying to comprehend what I was seeing. The wolf's body was covered in thick, dark fur, but its hands, yes, hands, were eerily human, with long, sharp claws. Panic set in as the creature began to move towards the car. I fumbled with the gear shift, my hands shaking uncontrollably. The wolf's movements were swift and fluid, its eyes never leaving mine. I managed to put the car in reverse and hit the gas, the tires screeching as I sped backward. The creature broke into a run, keeping pace with the car. The sight of it chasing me was like something out of a nightmare, haunting and surreal. My heart pounded as I desperately tried to control the car, my mind racing with fear and confusion. The wolf's snarls were audible even over the roar of the engine, a chilling reminder of its proximity. I shifted into drive and sped away, the creature finally falling behind. Relief was overwhelming, but the fear lingered, every shadow on the road a potential threat. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see those glowing eyes again. As I drove, couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The eerie silence of the night was now filled with the echo of the wolf's snarls and the image of its haunting eyes. I reached home, rushed inside, and locked the doors, my hands still trembling. My parents were already asleep, and I didn't dare wake them with my story. I stayed up all night, replaying the terrifying encounter in my mind, trying to make sense of it. The next day at school, I told my friends about the werewolf-like creature. Some laughed it off as a prank or a figment of my imagination, but a few believed me, their faces reflecting the same fear I had felt. The rumors spread, and soon the whole town was buzzing with stories of the werewolf in the woods. Some claimed to have seen it themselves, adding to the chilling legend. As weeks passed, the memory of the encounter remained vivid, a haunting reminder of that terrifying night. I avoided driving alone at night, the fear of encountering the creature again too strong. The town held a new sense of caution, with people locking their doors and avoiding the woods after dark. The werewolf sighting had shaken us all, adding an eerie edge to our once peaceful lives. Despite the fear, curiosity gnawed at me. I began researching local legends and found stories of similar sightings dating back decades. The accounts were eerily similar, describing a large, wolf-like creature with human features. The realization that I wasn't the first to encounter the werewolf was both comforting and terrifying. The legend had deep roots, and the creature was part of the town's haunting history. Over time, the fear subsided, but the lessons remained. The werewolf encounter had changed me, instilling a sense of caution and respect for the unknown. I continued to share my story, warning others of the potential dangers lurking in the woods. The memory of those glowing eyes and the creature's haunting presence served as a chilling reminder of the mysteries that exist just beyond the edge of our understanding. Reflecting on the experience, I realized the strength it had brought out in me. The encounter had tested my courage and resolve, and I emerged stronger for it. The Werewolf of Georgia became part of my personal lore, a story of fear and resilience that I carried with me. The woods, once a place of beauty and tranquility, now held a darker significance, a reminder of the supernatural forces that can exist in our world. My brother Tim and I had always been close, sharing a room in our cozy house at the edge of town. However, as we grew older, Tim developed an intense fear of the dark. He often spoke of a monster that visited him at night, causing both of us great fear. At first, I thought it was just a phase, a child's imagination running wild. But as the encounters escalated, it became clear that something more sinister was at play. It started with small things. Strange noises outside our window, shadows that moved on their own, and the feeling of being watched. Tim's fear was palpable, eyes wide with terror every night. He would wake me up, whispering about the monster that lurked outside. I tried to reassure him, but deep down, I felt the chilling presence too. The eerie silence of the night was often broken by loud bangs and strange noises coming from the garage. One night, the noises were louder than ever. Tim and I huddled together, listening to the eerie sounds that echoed through the house. It was as if something was trying to get in, the bangs growing more insistent. Our parents dismissed it as the house settling or animals outside, but we knew better. The haunting presence was real, and it was getting closer. The next night, we decided to stay awake and watch for the monster. Clock ticked slowly, each minute dragging on as we sat in the dark, our eyes darting to every shadow. Around midnight, we heard a soft whispering outside the window. It was faint at first, almost indistinguishable from the wind, but it grew louder, filling the room with a chilling, eerie sound. Tim clung to me, his fear mirrored in my own racing heart. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from the garage. We jumped, our fear reaching new heights. The sound was followed by a low growl, sending shivers down our spines. We crept to the window, peeking out into the darkness. The garage door was ajar, swaying slightly in the breeze. The eerie silence that followed was almost worse than the noise itself. We knew we had to investigate. The fear was overwhelming. Summoning all my courage, I grabbed a flashlight and led Tim to the garage. The air was thick with tension, every step feeling like a march towards doom. The flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing scattered tools and upturned boxes. The growling had stopped, but the feeling of being watched was stronger than ever. We searched every corner, but found nothing. The eerie atmosphere was suffocating, and we quickly retreated to the safety of the house. The haunting encounters continued, each night more terrifying than the last. Tim's fear grew, and so did mine. We tried to explain it to our parents, but they remained skeptical. The sense of isolation was intense, the nights filled with a chilling dread. The monster, whatever it was, seemed to delight in our fear, its presence a constant, haunting shadow. One particularly terrifying night, we heard scratching at our bedroom window. The sound was slow and deliberate, sending chills down our spines. Tim whimpered in fear, and I felt a surge of anger and determination. I grabbed the flashlight and threw open the window, shining the beam into the darkness. For a moment, I saw it. A pair of glowing eyes, staring back at me with a malevolent intensity. The sight was both terrifying and validating. We slammed the window shut and locked it, our hearts racing. The glowing eyes disappeared, but the memory of their eerie gaze remained. We knew now that the monster was real, but we also knew we had to find a way to stop it. The fear was still there, but so was a newfound resolve. We decided to confront the monster head-on, no longer willing to be its victim. The next day, we set up a series of makeshift traps around the house and the garage. We stayed up again that night, determined to catch whatever was terrorizing us. As midnight approached, the familiar noises started again. The traps didn't catch anything, but the monster's presence was undeniable. The eerie feeling of being watched was suffocating. But we held our ground. As the weeks went by, the encounters slowly decreased. Whether it was our traps or our newfound bravery, the monster seemed to lose interest. The nights grew quieter, and Tim's fear began to subside. The haunting memories of those terrifying encounters stayed with us, a chilling reminder of the unknown forces that had invaded our home. Reflecting on the experience, we realized how close we had come to losing ourselves to fear. The monster, real or imagined, had tested our courage and resolve. We emerged stronger, our bond deeper, and our understanding of the unknown more profound. The haunting nights became a part of our shared history, testament to our ability to face and overcome fear. The house, once a place of terror, was now a symbol of our resilience and strength. One crisp morning, Tim and I awoke to a sight that would confirm our deepest fears. Stepping outside to grab the newspaper, I noticed large, dinosaur-like footprints leading away from the garage. My heart raced as I called for Tim, came running. He stood there, staring at the eerie prints, their size and shape unlike anything we had ever seen. The discovery was both chilling and validating, proving that something unnatural had been visiting us at night. The footprints were massive, each one at least 2 feet long, with 3 sharp claws at the front. They seemed to glow faintly in the morning light, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Tim and I followed the trail cautiously, our curiosity battling with our fear. Prints led into the dense woods behind our house, disappearing into the shadows. The sense of being watched was overwhelming, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. As we ventured deeper into the woods, the trees seemed to close in around us. The eerie silence was broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant calls of birds. We tried to keep our spirits up, joking nervously about the creature being a lost dinosaur, but the haunting reality was hard to ignore. The footprints were too clear, too deliberate to be anything but real. We reached a clearing where the footprints suddenly stopped. The abrupt end was chilling, as if the creature had vanished into thin air. We stood there, feeling vulnerable and exposed. The eerie feeling of being watched intensified, and we decided it was best to head back home. As we retraced our steps, the forest seemed to whisper around us, adding to the haunting atmosphere. Back at the house, we told our parents about the footprints. They listened intently, their faces a mix of concern and disbelief. Our father decided to investigate further, taking photos and measuring the prints. The evidence was undeniable, and he contacted the local authorities. The officers arrived, their skepticism turning to shock as they examined the footprint. They promised to keep an eye on the area, but their reassurances felt hollow. That night, sleep was elusive. Every creak and groan of the house sounded amplified, each noise a potential sign of the creature's return. The memory of the footprints haunted our dreams, filling our minds with images of a monstrous, unseen visitor. The eerie silence outside felt oppressive, as if the night itself was watching us. We huddled together, trying to find comfort in each other's presence. Following days were filled with a tense anticipation. We checked the yard every morning, hoping not to find any new footprints. The fear of the unknown had seeped into our everyday lives, turning simple tasks into nerve-wracking experiences. The sense of being watched never fully left us, adding a chilling edge to even the brightest days. The haunting memory of the footprints became a constant reminder of our vulnerability. One evening, we heard a strange noise coming from the garage. Gathering our courage, we grabbed flashlights and cautiously approached the door. The eerie feeling of being watched was almost unbearable. We flung open the door, shining the beams into the darkness. The garage was empty, but the sense of a presence lingered. The fear was tangible, wrapping around us like a cold, unseen hand. As time passed, the frequency of strange occurrences seemed to decrease. Footprints never reappeared, but the haunting memory remained. We tried to return to normal, but the experience had changed us. The sense of security we once felt in our home was shattered, replaced by a constant vigilance. We shared our story with friends and neighbors, finding a mix of sympathy and skepticism. Reflecting on the events, we realized the strength it had brought out in us. Footprints had tested our courage and our bond as siblings. We emerged stronger, more resilient in the face of fear. The haunting memory of that morning became a part of our shared history, a chilling reminder of the unknown forces that can touch our lives. Our home, once a place of comfort, now held a deeper, more complex significance. The discovery of the footprints outside our garage confirmed our fears and changed our lives forever. It was a chilling reminder. Sometimes, the unknown is closer than we think. The eerie presence that had visited us left a lasting impact, teaching us about courage, resilience, and the haunting mysteries of the world around us. Hunting in Glacier National Park was supposed to be a peaceful and rewarding experience. The vast wilderness, with its breathtaking views and serene atmosphere, always been a haven for me. On this particular trip, I was alone, seeking the solitude and thrill that only nature could provide. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the landscape, I set up camp, unaware of the chilling encounter that awaited me. The first night passed uneventfully, the sounds of the forest lulling me to sleep. But on the second night, things took a terrifying turn. I was deep in the woods, tracking a deer, when I heard a strange noise. It was a low, guttural growl, unlike any animal sound I had ever heard. The air grew cold, and a chilling sensation crept up my spine. I stood still, my senses heightened, trying to locate the source of the sound. Suddenly, I saw movement in the shadows. A large, eerie creature emerged from the darkness, standing on two legs. My heart raced as I took in its features. A massive, muscular body covered in coarse fur, and a face that was disturbingly human-like. Its eyes glowed with a haunting light, and its hands, though clawed, had an unsettling resemblance to human hands. The sight was both terrifying and mesmerizing. The creature stared at me, its gaze piercing and unblinking. I felt paralyzed, unable to move or look away. The forest around me seemed to fall into an eerie silence, the usual sounds of wildlife abruptly ceasing. The creature took a step closer, its movements fluid and deliberate. My instincts screamed at me to run, but my legs felt like lead. The air was thick with tension, every second stretching into an eternity. Just as the creature drew nearer, a loud crack echoed through the woods. Startled, the creature turned its head, and I seized the opportunity to flee. I sprinted through the forest, my heart pounding in my ears. Trees blurred past me as I ran, fear driving me forward. The growls of the creature followed me, growing fainter as I put more distance between us. I didn't stop until I reached my campsite, gasping for breath. Back at camp, I grabbed my rifle, my hands shaking with adrenaline and fear. I scanned the surrounding area, but the creature was nowhere in sight. The forest had returned to its eerie silence, the only sound my own ragged breathing. The encounter had left me shaken, image of the creature's haunting eyes etched into my mind. I knew I couldn't stay there any longer. Packing up my gear as quickly as possible, I decided to leave the park. The once welcoming wilderness now felt hostile and menacing. As I hiked back to my truck, every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs made me jump. The memory of the creature's piercing gaze and eerie presence haunted my thoughts, a chilling reminder of the unknown dangers lurking in the wild. Once I reached my truck, I drove straight to the nearest ranger station. I reported the encounter, describing the creature in as much detail as I could. The rangers listened intently, their expressions a mix of concern and disbelief. They assured me they would investigate, but their reassurances did little to ease my fear. I left the park, the haunting memory of the encounter following me. In the days that followed, I struggled to come to terms with what I had seen. I shared my story with friends and fellow hunters, receiving a mix of skepticism and support. Some suggested it was a bear or a trick of the light, but I knew what I had witnessed was far more sinister. The eerie presence of the creature had left a lasting impact, challenging my understanding of the natural world. Reflecting on the experience, I realized the strength it had brought out in me. The encounter had tested my courage and survival instincts, forcing me to face a fear I had never known. The haunting memory of the creature in Glacier National Park became a part of my personal lore, a chilling tale I would carry with me forever. It served as a reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of understanding. The eerie creature I encountered in Glacier National Park changed my perspective on the wild and its hidden dangers. The chilling experience left a deep scar, but it also taught me about resilience and the unknown forces that can touch our lives. The haunting memory of that night will always stay with me, a testament to the power of nature and the mysteries that lurk within it. Hunting in the Daniel Boone National Forest was a tradition for me and my loyal dog, Jake. The forest, with its dense trees and winding trails, had always been a place of adventure and tranquility. This trip, however, would test our courage like never before. As we ventured deeper into the woods, an eerie feeling settled over us, a chilling prelude to the terrifying encounter that awaited us. The day had started normally, with clear skies and the sounds of nature all around. We were tracking deer when Jake suddenly stopped, his ears perked and body tense. He growled low, a sound that sent chills down my spine. I scanned the surroundings, but saw nothing unusual. The forest had fallen into an eerie silence, the usual sounds of wildlife replaced by a haunting stillness. We pressed on, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the trees, we reached a small clearing. Jake's growls grew louder, more insistent. Suddenly, from the edge of the clearing, a massive wolf-like creature emerged. It stood on two legs, its body covered in dark, matted fur. The creature's eyes glowed with a chilling light, and its face, though wolf-like, had disturbingly human features. My heart raced as the creature advanced towards us, its growls echoing through the forest. I raised my rifle, but my hands trembled with fear. The creature's movements were swift and fluid, closing the distance between us in seconds. Jake lunged at it, his bravery a stark contrast to my own terror. The creature swiped at him with clawed hands, knocking him to the ground. The sight of my loyal companion injured fueled my resolve. I fired my rifle, the shot ringing out through the forest. The bullet hit the creature, but it only seemed to anger it further. It turned its glowing eyes towards me, snarling with rage. Jake, despite his injuries, struggled to his feet and attacked again. The creature was momentarily distracted, giving me another chance to shoot. This time, the bullet found its mark, hitting the creature in the chest. It let out a chilling howl, a sound that would haunt my nightmares. The creature staggered, its eyes losing their glow. Jake and I seized the opportunity to flee, running through the forest with the sound of the creature's howls fading behind us. The adrenaline kept us going, every step filled with fear and urgency. The forest seemed to close in around us, every shadow a potential threat. We didn't stop until we reached the safety of our truck, both of us gasping for breath. Back at the cabin, I tended to Jake's wounds. He had a deep gash on his side, but his eyes were filled with the same determination that had saved us. The encounter had left us both shaken, the image of the creature's glowing eyes and human-like face haunting our thoughts. We knew we had faced something beyond the natural world, something chilling and sinister. We reported the encounter to the local authorities, but they were skeptical. The idea of a werewolf-like creature in the Daniel Boone National Forest seemed too far-fetched. However, they couldn't ignore Jake's injuries and my genuine fear. They promised to investigate, but we knew the truth of what we had faced. Forest, once a place of peace, now held a dark and eerie significance. In the days that followed, the memory of the battles stayed with us. I shared the story with friends and fellow hunters, receiving a mix of disbelief and concern. The experience had changed us, deepening our bond and our respect for the unknown dangers of the wild. Jake's bravery had been a testament to the loyalty and courage that animals can possess, a lesson I would never forget. Reflecting on the encounter, I realized how close we had come to something truly terrifying. The werewolf battle in the Daniel Boone National Forest had tested our courage and survival instincts. The haunting memory of that night became a part of our shared history, a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of understanding. It served as a testament to the resilience and strength we all possess when faced with the unknown. The werewolf encounter in the Daniel Boone National Forest left a lasting impact on us. The chilling experience taught us about bravery and the hidden dangers that can lurk in the wild. The haunting memory of the battle will always stay with us, a testament to the power of nature and the mysteries that can challenge our understanding of the world. Living off campus with a few housemates had always been an adventure, but things took a dark turn during my junior year. I had recently moved into a charming old house with 3 other students, each of us excited about our newfound independence. The house had its quirks, creaky floors, drafty windows, but it was home. However, the sense of comfort quickly dissolved when I discovered that one of my housemates had been secretly recording me and invading my privacy. It started with small, eerie incidents. I would find my room slightly different from how I had left it. Drawers slightly open, objects moved, and a chilling feeling of being watched. At first, I brushed it off, thinking it was just my imagination or the house's quirks. But the eerie feeling persisted, making me increasingly paranoid. I confided in my best friend, who suggested I set up a hidden camera to catch any intruders. One evening, after a long day of classes, I reviewed the footage from my hidden camera. My heart pounded as I watched one of my housemates, Sam, enter my room and rummage through my belongings. The sight was both chilling and infuriating. Sam had always seemed friendly, if a bit reserved. I couldn't believe someone I lived with could violate my privacy so blatantly. The sense of betrayal was overwhelming. Determined to confront Sam, I waited until all the housemates were home. Gathering everyone in the living room, I played the footage for them. The room fell into an eerie silence as the reality of Sam's actions sank in. Sam's face turned pale, and he stammered out a weak apology, claiming he was just curious and meant no harm. But the damage was done, and the trust we had as housemates was shattered. I contacted the police, providing them with the footage as evidence. They took my statement seriously and began an investigation. The police presence in our home added to the chilling atmosphere, making the reality of the situation even more haunting. The officers discovered that Sam had been recording all of us, hiding cameras in common areas and bedrooms. The invasion of privacy was far worse than any of us had imagined. Sam was arrested, and the house was turned upside down as the police removed the hidden cameras. The sense of violation was profound, and it took weeks for the house to feel like home again. Each of us dealt with the trauma in our own way, but the shared experience brought us closer together. The haunting memory of Sam's betrayal lingered, but it also taught us the importance of vigilance and trust. In the aftermath, we changed the locks and installed a security system. The house slowly regained its sense of safety. The fear of being watched was hard to shake. We all became more cautious, more aware of our surroundings. The experience had left a deep scar, but it also made us stronger. We supported each other through the difficult times, finding strength in our shared resilience. As the months passed, the memory of Sam's betrayal faded, but it never fully disappeared. We shared our story with friends and classmates, warning them about the importance of privacy and security. The eerie experience served as a chilling reminder of how easily trust can be broken. We learned to be more careful, more protective of our personal spaces. The haunting reality of living with an invasive housemate had changed us all. Reflecting on the incident, I realized the lessons it had taught me. Betrayal had tested my trust in others and my ability to feel safe in my own home. But it also showed me the strength of my friendships and the power of standing up for oneself. The experience had turned our house into a fortress, both physically and emotionally. We had faced a chilling invasion and emerged stronger for it. The story of my invasive housemate became a cautionary tale, a reminder to always be vigilant and protect one's privacy. The haunting memory of those hidden cameras served as a testament to the importance of trust and security. Living through the ordeal had been a nightmare, but it had also brought out a resilience and determination in all of us. The experience had shaped us, turning a chilling betrayal into a story of strength and recovery. My relationship with Lisa had ended months ago, but it seemed she couldn't let go. Initially, the breakup was amicable, and we agreed to remain friends. However, quickly became clear that Lisa had other plans. She began creating multiple fake identities online to stay in contact with me, an eerie and chilling escalation that I never expected. It started innocently enough, with a few anonymous friend requests on social media. I accepted them without much thought, not realizing they were all Lisa. Over time, the messages from these accounts grew more personal and invasive. The conversations felt familiar, and a haunting suspicion began to form. Each new account seemed to know too much about my life, my routines, and my friends. One day, I received a message from a stranger complimenting my recent photos. The account had no profile picture and minimal information, but the tone was eerily similar to Lisa's. The messages grew more persistent, asking about my day, my plans, and even mentioning details that only Lisa would know. The realization hit me like a cold wave. Lisa was behind these accounts, watching my every move. The situation escalated when I blocked one account, only to have another pop up within hours. The messages became more aggressive, accusing me of trying to erase Lisa from my life. The sense of being watched was chilling, making every online interaction feel like a potential threat. I confided in my close friends, who confirmed my fears. Lisa had been reaching out to them too, trying to gather information about me. I decided to confront Lisa, hoping to put an end to the eerie stalking. Meeting in a public place, I presented her with the evidence, screenshots of the messages, and the overlapping details. She denied everything at first, her face pale and eyes wide, feigned innocence. But as I pressed, her demeanor shifted, revealing a chilling determination. She admitted to creating the fake account, claiming it was her way of staying close to me. The confrontation left me shaken. I realized that blocking her online wasn't enough. I needed to take stronger measures. I reported the harassment to the social media platforms, providing them with all the evidence. They took immediate action, but the fear lingered. I changed all my passwords, increased my privacy settings, and even considered deleting my accounts altogether. The haunting sense of being watched persisted, a constant reminder of Lisa's obsessive behavior. Despite the blocks and increased security, Lisa found ways to reach me. Anonymous emails, new social media accounts, even handwritten letters left at my door. The relentless pursuit was terrifying. I decided to take legal action, filing a restraining order against her. The process was emotionally draining, but I knew it was the only way to protect myself. Court granted the order, and for a while, the harassment stopped. However, the psychological impact remained. Every unknown caller, every new friend request, filled me with dread. The experience had left a deep scar, making it hard to trust others. I became more reclusive, avoiding social events and limiting my online presence. Friends and family supported me, but the chilling memory of Lisa's obsession was hard to shake. In time, I slowly rebuilt my life. Therapy helped me deal with the trauma, and I began to feel safer. The restraining order provided some peace of mind, but I remained cautious. Sharing my story with others, I emphasized the importance of recognizing red flags and taking action early. Lisa's obsession had taught me valuable lessons about personal boundaries and online security. Reflecting on the ordeal, I realized the strength it had brought out in me. Facing Lisa's obsessive behavior had tested my resilience and my ability to protect myself. The haunting experience had changed me, but it had also made me more aware and vigilant. I continued to navigate my life with caution, but also with a newfound sense of empowerment. The story of my obsessive ex-girlfriend became a cautionary tale for those around me. It highlighted the potential dangers of online interactions and the importance of setting boundaries. The chilling memory of Lisa's relentless pursuit served as a reminder to stay vigilant and protect one's privacy. Living through the ordeal had been a nightmare, but it had also shaped me into a stronger, more resilient person. Driving home from a late-night study session at the library, I noticed a police car in my rearview mirror. At first, I didn't think much of it. I was on a quiet stretch of road, and the presence of a police car should have been reassuring. However, as I continued driving, the police car remained behind me, matching my every turn. Eerie feeling of being followed sent chills down my spine. I decided to take a few extra turns to see if the police car would continue. Follow. To my growing unease, it did. Every twist and turn I took, the police car was right there, its headlights glaring into my mirror. My heart started to race, and 1,000 thoughts ran through my mind. What did they want? Had I done something wrong? The chilling sensation of being watched grew stronger with every mile. Hoping to lose the car, I took a series of back roads that I knew well. The roads were narrow and winding, often deserted at this hour. The police car followed me relentlessly, its presence becoming more intimidating with each turn. The eerie silence of the night was broken only by the hum of our engine. My mind raced, trying to come up with a plan to end this haunting pursuit. I decided to pull into a well-lit gas station, thinking the presence of other people might deter the police car from continuing to follow me. As I parked, the police car pulled in too, parking a few spaces away. My hands were shaking as I got out of the car, pretending to check something in the trunk. The officer stepped out of the car and approached me, a stern expression on his face. The sense of fear was overwhelming. "Good evening," the officer said, his voice calm but authoritative. "Can I see your license and registration?" I handed over my documents, my heart pounding in my chest. He examined them carefully before looking back at me. "You've been driving around in circles. Is everything all right?" His question was both chilling and oddly comforting. I explained my actions, trying to mask my fear with a calm demeanor. The officer listened, nodding slowly. "We've had reports of suspicious activity in the area, just making sure everything's okay." His explanation made sense, but the fear and unease lingered. He handed back my documents and advised me to drive straight home. As he walked back to his car, the tension in my shoulders eased slightly, but the eerie feeling of the encounter remained. I got back into my car, determined to head straight home. Driving the final stretch home, I couldn't shake the haunting feeling of being followed. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound amplified by my heightened senses. The police car had turned off at the gas station. Fear lingered. I finally reached home, familiar sight of my house bringing a wave of relief. I parked and quickly went inside, locking the door behind me. The experience left me shaken and on edge. I replayed the encounter in my mind, trying to understand the officer's intentions. Sharing the story with my friends the next day, I received a mix of reactions. Some laughed it off, while others expressed concern. The memory of the police car's relentless pursuit was chilling, a stark reminder how vulnerable I felt that night. In the days that followed, the fear gradually subsided. The lessons remained. I became more aware of my surroundings, especially when driving at night. The experience had left a deep impact, changing how I perceived late-night drives and police encounters. It taught me the importance of staying calm and composed, even in the face of fear. The haunting memory of that night became a part of my personal narrative. Reflecting on the incident, I realized the strength it had brought out in me. Police follow had tested my courage and my ability to remain composed under pressure. The chilling experience had made me more vigilant and cautious, a lesson I carried with me in all aspects of life. It served as a reminder of the unexpected challenges we can face and the resilience we need to overcome them. The story of being followed by a police car became a cautionary tale among my friends. It highlighted the importance of staying aware and cautious, especially during late-night drives. The haunting memory of that tense encounter served as a reminder to always be prepared and vigilant. Living through the ordeal had been nerve-wracking, but it had also shaped me into a stronger, more resilient person. Starting a new life in Wisconsin was an exciting prospect. As a university student from Minnesota, I looked forward to the fresh start and new experiences. Finding an apartment was the first step, and Craigslist seemed like a convenient option. I found a listing for a charming, affordable place not too far from campus. The landlord, an elderly woman named Miss Glennis, seemed friendly over the phone. Little did I know, this encounter would turn into a chilling and eerie experience. I arrived at the address on a sunny afternoon, the house standing quaintly at the end of a quiet street. Miss Glennis greeted me at the door with a warm smile, her eyes twinkling behind her glasses. The house smelled faintly of lavender, and the decor was straight out of a bygone era. She showed me around, her demeanor kind and welcoming. The place was perfect, or so it seemed. I decided to take it, feeling lucky to have found such a nice place. Moving in was smooth, and I settled in quickly. However, strange things began to happen almost immediately. On my first night, I heard faint scratching noises coming from the walls. First, I thought it was just the house settling, or maybe mice. but the sounds grew louder and more insistent, making it hard to sleep. The eerie feeling of being watched started to creep in, making me uneasy. The next day, I mentioned the noises to Miss Glennis. She brushed it off, saying it was just an old house and nothing to worry about. Her response was oddly reassuring, but the sense of unease lingered. That evening, as I was unpacking, I noticed something peculiar. A dog bowl in the kitchen, but no sign of a dog. Found it odd, but didn't think much of it. The eerie atmosphere was starting to get to me. As days went by, the strange occurrences escalated. Doors would open and close on their own, and objects seemed to move from where I had left them. One night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. I got up to investigate. There was no one there. The house felt alive, filled with a chilling presence. The sense of being watched grew stronger, making me question my decision to move in. One evening, I heard a dog barking outside. Curious, I looked out the window but saw nothing. The barking continued, sounding closer and more desperate. I went to Miss Glennis to ask about the dog, but she just smiled and said, "Oh, that's just Rex. He likes to play outside." Her nonchalant response was haunting, especially since I had never seen a dog around the house. The mystery of the invisible dog added to the eerie atmosphere. Determined to get to the bottom of the strange happenings, I started researching the house. I discovered the previous tenant had left suddenly, leaving behind most of their belongings. The reason for their departure was unknown, but rumors hinted at paranormal activity. The chilling realization that I wasn't the first to experience these eerie events sent shivers down my spine. The house's history was haunting, filled with unexplained disappearances and mysterious occurrences. One night, I decided to set up a camera to capture the strange events. As I reviewed the footage the next morning, I saw something that made my blood run cold. In the middle of the night, a shadowy figure moved through the hallway, followed by the faint outline of a dog. The eerie presence was undeniable. The footage confirmed my fears. Something supernatural was happening in the house. I confronted Miss Glennis with the footage, hoping for an explanation. Her reaction was unexpected. She calmly said, "Rex has been with me for years. He doesn't like strangers." Her eyes took on a chilling glint, and I realized there was more to Miss Glennis than met the eye. The haunting atmosphere of the house suddenly made sense. I knew I had to leave, and fast. Packing my things in a hurry, I moved out that very day. The sense of relief was overwhelming as I left the house behind. I reported my experience to the authorities, but they dismissed it as overactive imagination. Sharing my story with friends, I received a mix of disbelief and sympathy. The eerie encounter with Miss Glennis and the invisible dog remained a chilling memory. Reflecting on the experience, I realized the strength it had brought out in me. The creepy Craigslist apartment had tested my resolve and instinct. The haunting events had taught me to trust my gut and stay vigilant. Eerie memory of Miss Glennis and her invisible dog became a part of my personal history. A chilling reminder of the unknown forces that can lurk in seemingly ordinary places. Being a single mother means always looking for the best deals, and Craigslist had often been a reliable source. One afternoon, I found a listing for a stroller at an unbelievable price. The seller seemed friendly, and we arranged to meet in a public place. As I pulled up to the designated spot, an eerie feeling crept over me. The area was more deserted than I had anticipated. Chilling thoughts ran through my mind, but I brushed them aside, determined to get a good deal. The seller arrived, but he wasn't alone. 2 other men accompanied him, their presence unsettling. I tried to stay calm as I approached, my instincts screaming that something was off. As I reached the group, their demeanor shifted from friendly to menacing. One of them demanded my purse, revealing a knife hidden in his jacket. The situation turned hauntingly real, and I knew I had to think fast. I handed over my purse, trying to keep my composure. The men seemed satisfied and started to walk away, but I wasn't ready to let them get away so easily. As they turned their backs, I bolted to my car, locking the doors just in time. My hands shook as I dialed my friend's number, my voice trembling as I explained the situation. She urged me to come to her house immediately, offering a safe haven. Driving to my friend's house felt like the longest journey of my life. Every shadow seemed to hide a threat, every car a potential follower. When I finally arrived, she was waiting outside, her comforting presence a stark contrast to the chilling ordeal I had just escaped. She ushered me inside, locking the door behind us as we called the police. The authorities arrived quickly, taking my statement and assuring me they would catch the men. The fear and adrenaline were still coursing through my veins as I described the encounter. It wasn't long before the police reported back, having arrested the group at a nearby location. They were part of a gang that targeted vulnerable individuals through online listings, preying on those seeking deals. The relief I felt was immense, but the haunting memory of their faces and the knife remained. My friend's support was invaluable, helping me process the ordeal and regain a sense of normalcy. Sharing the story with other single mothers in my community, I emphasized the importance of meeting in safe, well-populated areas, and always trusting one's instinct. Reflecting on the incident, I realized how close I had come to a much worse outcome. The eerie sense of danger that had initially gnawed at me was a warning I should have heeded. It was a chilling reminder that not everyone on the other end of a screen has good intentions. My experience became a cautionary tale, highlighting the need for vigilance in all online transactions. Over time, I became more cautious and discerning, always prioritizing safety over convenience. The memory of that day served as a powerful lesson in trusting my gut and the importance of having a support network. My story, shared at community meetings and with friends, helped raise awareness and protect others from similar traps. Life moved on, but the incident left a lasting impact. I continued to use online marketplaces, but with a heightened sense of caution and awareness. Each transaction was approached with meticulous planning, ensuring my safety and peace of mind. My story stood as a testament to resilience and the power of quick thinking in the face of danger. In the end, the ordeal brought my friend and me closer, our bond strengthened by the shared experience. It reinforced the importance of community and looking out for one another. My story, once a chilling encounter, became a beacon of caution and solidarity, reminding us all to stay vigilant and protect ourselves and each other. I've always been a lover of rare books, and that passion led me to a small, unassuming bookstore one rainy afternoon. The shop was filled with an eerie quiet, kind that amplifies every creak of the floorboards. As I browsed, a particularly old and dusty book caught my eye. The cover was unmarked, its age evident from the worn leather binding. It seemed like the perfect addition to my collection. Little did I know this book held a chilling secret. Back home, I carefully examined my new find. Inside, I discovered a series of strange markings and codes hidden within the pages. My curiosity was piqued, and I decided to decode the messages. As I worked through the night, the eerie realization dawned that the codes were not just random gibberish. They detailed transactions and shipments, hinting at something far more sinister. My heart pounded as the chilling possibility of a crime syndicate emerged. Determined to uncover the truth, I contacted a detective friend. We met at a quiet cafe, where I laid out my findings. His expression turned serious as he examined the book. "This could be big," he murmured. Together, we devised a plan to follow the leads hidden in the codes. The atmosphere was tense, filled with the eerie anticipation of what we might uncover. The detective's interest was piqued, and I felt a mix of fear and excitement. Our investigation led us to a series of warehouses around the city. Each location matched the descriptions in the book, making the chilling reality of the syndicate's operations undeniable. One night, while staking out a particularly suspicious warehouse, we witnessed a group of men unloading crates. Their hushed voices and guarded movements were haunting. We knew we were on the brink of something big. With enough evidence gathered, my friend decided it was time to involve the authorities. A coordinated raid was planned, and I was asked to stay back for my safety. The night of the raid was filled with tension. I waited anxiously, my thoughts racing through the possible outcomes. The eerie quiet of my apartment was broken only by the occasional update from the detective, each one more nerve-wracking than the last. The raid was successful. The police apprehended several high-ranking members of the syndicate, uncovering a network that spanned multiple cities. The book, once a piece of history, became a key piece of evidence. The sense of relief was immense, but the haunting knowledge of how close I had come to danger remained. My involvement in the investigation was over, but the experience had left a lasting mark. In the days that followed, the bookstore and the book became symbols of the eerie events that had unfolded. The story spread, adding a sense of mystery and intrigue to the otherwise quiet shop. I was proud to have played a part in bringing the criminals to justice, but the memory of those tense nights was haunting. Sharing the story with fellow book lovers, I emphasized the unexpected dangers that sometimes hide in plain sight. The incident taught me the value of vigilance and the power of curiosity. It was a chilling reminder that even the most mundane places can harbor dark secrets. My love for rare books remained, but now with a heightened sense of awareness. Each new find was approached with careful scrutiny, my instincts sharpened by the haunting experience. Life gradually returned to normal, but the story of the crime syndicate and the bookstore mystery lingered. It became a favorite tale among my friends, a chilling narrative of discovery and danger. The eerie quiet of the bookstore, once a comforting backdrop to my searches, now held a different meaning. It was a reminder of the shadows that sometimes lurk behind the facade of normalcy. In the end, the experience reinforced my belief in the importance of following one's instincts and the value of persistence. The haunting adventure had brought about a significant change, not just in my life but in the community. My story became a testament to the power of curiosity and the unexpected paths it can lead us down, even when they are fraught with danger. Retirement had brought me to a quiet life on the edge of a vast forest. One crisp autumn morning, I decided to explore the old trails that wound through the woods. As I wandered deeper into the forest, I stumbled upon a long-forgotten barn, its weathered wood blending eerily with the surroundings. My curiosity got the best of me, and I approached cautiously, sensing something chilling about the place. The barn door creaked ominously as I pushed it open, revealing a dark interior. Sunlight filtered through the broken roof, casting eerie shadows on the ground. Inside, I found rows of strange equipment and barrels filled with chemical. The realization hit me like a cold wind. I had uncovered a drug operation. The air was thick with a haunting sense of danger. My first instinct was to leave immediately, but I knew I had to report this. Quietly, I backed away from the barn and made my way home, my heart pounding with every step. Once safe, I called the local police, detailing my eerie discovery. The authorities assured me they would investigate, but the wait was nerve-wracking. The memory of that dark barn lingered, haunting my thoughts. A few days later, police cars and unmarked vans descended upon the forest. From a safe distance, I watched as they raided the barn, the scene unfolding like a tense movie. The officers moved swiftly, uncovering more evidence than I had imagined. It was chilling to think how close I had been to such a dangerous operation. The sight of the arrested individuals being led away was both relieving and eerie. The dismantling of the drug operation made headlines, and I found myself thrust into the spotlight. Reporters wanted to hear my story, but the attention was unnerving. Sharing the details of that haunting discovery felt surreal, as if recounting a nightmare. Community praised my actions, but I couldn't shake the eerie feeling that lingered from my encounter with the barn. In the following weeks, the forest slowly returned to its peaceful state, but the memory of that day remained vivid. I resumed my walks, each step reminding me of the hidden dangers that could lurk in the most unexpected places. My eerie experience became a cautionary tale among neighbors, a reminder of the importance of vigilance. Reflecting on the incident, I realized how a simple exploration had turned into a life-altering event. The barn, once a symbol of rural charm, now held a haunting place in my memory. It was a stark reminder that even in retirement, life could take unexpected and chilling turns. Sharing my story with friends, I emphasized the importance of trusting one's instinct. Over time, the forest reclaimed the barn, vines and moss slowly enveloping the structure. The eerie shadows it cast on sunny days were a constant reminder of the past. Yet, I found a sense of peace, knowing that my actions had made the community safer. The haunting experience had changed me, instilling a deeper appreciation for the quiet life I cherished. The authorities kept in touch, updating me on the ongoing investigation. Their gratitude was comforting, but the eerie sense of the barn's past still loomed large. My involvement had been crucial in dismantling the operation, a fact that brought a mix of pride and unease. The forest, with all its beauty, now held a darker story beneath its canopy. As I continued to explore the woods, I felt a renewed connection to nature. A haunting memory of the barn served as a reminder of the resilience and strength we find in the face of unexpected challenges. My story, shared with new friends and old, became a testament to courage and the eerie unpredictability of life. It was supposed to be a peaceful ice fishing trip. Just me and my son in the vast, frozen expanse of Alaska. The icy wilderness had a haunting beauty, with the endless white landscape stretching out in every direction. We set up our small fishing hut on the frozen lake, the eerie silence broken only by the occasional crack of ice. The day was going perfectly until we noticed figures approaching in the distance. At first we thought they were fellow fishermen, but as they drew nearer, their intentions became chillingly clear. There were 3 of them, rugged and rough, with eyes that spoke of desperation. They demanded our gear and supplies, their voices low and menacing. The situation quickly escalated, and they took everything, leaving us with nothing but the clothes on our backs in the freezing cold. As the men disappeared into the icy wilderness, the reality of our situation sank in. The temperature was dropping rapidly, and we had no shelter, no food, and no way to call for help. My son looked at me with wide, fearful eyes, and I knew I had to find a way to keep us alive. The vast, eerie landscape offered little hope, but we started walking, hoping to find some form of shelter. After what felt like hours, we stumbled upon an old, abandoned cabin. It was a haunting sight, standing alone in the middle of nowhere, but it was our only hope. We forced the door open and hurried inside, grateful for the shelter from the biting wind. The cabin was dilapidated, but it provided a temporary refuge. We huddled together, using the sparse furniture to block drafts, and prayed for the night to pass quickly. The night was long and filled with eerie sounds of the wind howling through the cracks in the cabin. Every creak and groan of the old wood sent chills down my spine. My son clung to me, and I did my best to keep him warm, using our remaining clothing and any fabric we could find. The haunting reality of our predicament weighed heavily on me, but I had to stay strong for him. Morning came, bringing a weak, pale light through the frosted windows. We ventured outside, hoping to find signs of civilization or help. The icy wilderness was as unforgiving as ever, but we pressed on. The cold bit at our faces, and our breath hung in the air like ghostly apparition. It was a hauntingly beautiful, yet perilous journey. After what seemed like an eternity, we saw smoke rising in the distance. With renewed hope, we made our way towards it, our steps quickening despite the exhaustion. We found a small village, and the sight of people moving about their daily lives was both comforting and surreal. We were welcomed warmly, given hot food, and wrapped in blankets. The relief was overwhelming, but the haunting memory of our ordeal lingered. The villagers contacted the authorities, and soon a rescue team arrived to take us back to safety. The men who had robbed us were never found, disappearing into the vast, icy wilderness. The experience had left a deep scar, a haunting reminder of how quickly things could go wrong in such a harsh environment. My son and I were grateful to be alive, but the memory of those chilling moments stayed with us. Reflecting on the experience, I realized the strength and resilience it had brought out in both of us. The haunting beauty of the Alaskan wilderness now held a different meaning, a reminder of both its majesty and its dangers. Sharing our story with friends and family, we emphasized the importance of being prepared for the unexpected. Over time, the memory of that night faded. The lessons we learned remained. The haunting experience had strengthened our bond and our appreciation for life. The icy wilderness, once a place of serene beauty, now held a deeper, more complex significance. Our story became a testament to survival and the human spirit's ability to endure even the most chilling ordeals. After an incredible party, I boarded the late-night train, expecting a smooth ride home. The rhythmic clatter of the tracks and the gentle sway of the train were oddly comforting, lulling me into a deep sleep. When I woke up, it was to an eerie silence. The train had stopped, but not at my usual station. Instead, I found myself at an unknown, desolate platform. The chilling emptiness around me sent shivers down my spine. I stepped off the train, hoping to find some clue about where I was. The platform was eerily quiet, with not a soul in sight. The only sound was the whisper of the wind through the abandoned buildings. A sense of unease settled over me as I walked along the deserted platform. My phone had no signal, and the station's signs were old and faded, offering no help. As I continued to explore, I noticed two men approaching from the shadows. Their movements were deliberate, their gazes fixed on me. The eerie feeling intensified, and my instincts screamed at me to get away. They came closer, their expressions unreadable. My heart pounded as I backed away, looking for an escape route. The situation was turning from unsettling to downright terrifying. One of the men called out to me, his voice low and menacing. They started to close in, and I realized I had to act fast. Spying a narrow alley between two buildings, I bolted towards it. The men gave chase, their footsteps echoing eerily in the deserted station. Adrenaline surged through me as I navigated the labyrinth of alleys and side streets, each turn heightening the sense of a chilling chase. Breathless and desperate, I found a small abandoned building and ducked inside, hoping to hide. The darkness was suffocating, and every creak of the floorboards seemed deafening. I pressed myself against the wall, trying to control my breathing. The sound of their footsteps outside was haunting, each step a reminder of the danger lurking just beyond the thin walls. Minutes felt like hours as I waited in the darkness, praying they wouldn't find me. Eventually, the footsteps faded, and the eerie silence returned. I cautiously peeked out of my hiding place, coast seemingly clear. My heart still raced, but I knew I had to find a way out of this desolate station. I made my way back to the platform, hoping the train would still be there. To my relief, the train was waiting, its lights casting an eerie glow on the empty platform. I quickly boarded, my eyes scanning for any sign of the men. The car was empty, and the doors closed with a reassuring hiss. As the train pulled away, I sank into a seat, the tension slowly draining from my body. The haunting experience had left me shaken, but I was grateful to be on my way home. When I finally reached my stop, familiar surroundings were a welcome sight. The ordeal had been terrifying, but the relief of being back in a safe, known place, it's overwhelming. I reported the incident to the authorities, who assured me they would investigate the eerie station and the men who had pursued me. Their reassurances were comforting, but the memory of that night remained vivid. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the eerie feeling of the deserted station. It had been a chilling reminder of how quickly a situation could turn dangerous. I shared my story with friends, emphasizing the importance of staying alert and prepared for the unexpected. The experience had changed me, instilling a sense of caution and awareness that I hadn't had before. Life gradually returned to normal, but the haunting memory of that night lingered. The train, once a symbol of routine and comfort, now held a different meaning. Each ride brought a mix of familiarity and unease, a reminder of the eerie encounter. My story became a cautionary tale, highlighting the importance of vigilance and the unpredictability of the world around us. Camping in the Ozarks had always been a family tradition, a time to disconnect from the hustle and bustle of everyday life and reconnect with nature. This trip started like any other, with the excitement of setting up our campsite and exploring the woods. The dense trees and the distant sounds of wildlife were comforting at first, but as night fell, an eerie feeling settled over the campsite. The sense of being watched was unmistakable, sending chills down my spine. The first sign of trouble came when we heard rustling in the bushes. At first, we dismissed it as animals. The noises grew closer and more deliberate. My husband and I exchanged uneasy glances, both sensing something was off. We decided to keep the campfire burning and stayed alert. The atmosphere became increasingly eerie as the night wore on, every sound amplifying our fear. Around midnight, we heard footsteps approaching our tents. My heart pounded as I peeked out to see shadowy figures moving around our campsite. Their intentions were unclear, but the haunting sense of danger was palpable. We decided to quietly wake the kids and prepare to leave. As we packed up, the figures grew bolder, moving closer and muttering among themselves. The eerie situation was turning into a nightmare. In a sudden burst of courage, my husband and I confronted them, demanding to know what they wanted. Their response was chilling, a mixture of threats and taunts, indicating they wanted us gone. The realization that we were being harassed by locals, likely to scare us off their land, was terrifying. We knew we had to leave immediately to protect our family. We quickly packed the remaining gear and loaded the car, the eerie silence of the night now filled with tension. As we drove away, figures followed us to the edge of the woods, their presence haunting in the rearview mirror. The drive back to the nearest town was fraught with anxiety, every shadow on the road making us jump. The relief of reaching civilization was immense, but the haunting memory of the encounter lingered. The next day, we reported the incident to the local authority. They took our statement seriously, acknowledging that such harassment was not unheard of in the remote areas of the Ozarks. Their reassurances were somewhat comforting, but the experience had shaken us deeply. The once-loved camping tradition now held a chilling memory that would not easily fade. In the weeks that followed, we found it difficult to talk about the trip without a sense of dread. Kids had nightmares, and my husband and I felt a lingering unease. The haunting experience had changed our perception of the wilderness, turning what was once a sanctuary into a place of fear. Sharing our story with friends and family, we emphasized the importance of being prepared for the unexpected. Gradually, we tried to reclaim our love for camping, starting with shorter, safer trips closer to home. The eerie memory of the Ozarks was always in the back of our minds, a reminder of how quickly things could go wrong. Over time, the fear subsided, but the lessons learned remained. We became more cautious, more aware, and more protective of our family's safety. The haunting experience in the Ozarks became a part of our family lore, a story we shared with others to highlight the unpredictability of nature and human behavior. It reinforced our bond and our resilience, reminding us of the strength we had shown in the face of danger. The chilling encounter had tested us, but it also brought us closer together. In the end, our love for the outdoors prevailed, but with a newfound respect for its potential dangers. The Ozarks, with their haunting beauty, remained a place of mystery and caution in our memories. Our story served as a testament to the importance of vigilance and the power of family unity in overcoming even the most chilling experiences. My husband and I were looking for a quick getaway, break from the daily grind. We found a motel that seemed quaint, albeit a bit rundown. It was the only option in the small town we had chosen to explore. As we settled into our room, the atmosphere was oddly quiet, with an eerie stillness that felt unsettling. We dismissed it, attributing it to the late hour and our fatigue from the long drive. As night fell, we noticed a man loitering outside our window. His presence was chilling, his eyes fixed on our room with an intensity that made my skin crawl. My husband suggested we close the curtains and ignore him, but I couldn't shake the haunting feeling that we were being watched. The man's shadowy figure remained etched in my mind, even as we tried to relax. The next morning, we woke to find him gone, but the eerie sensation lingered. We decided to spend the day exploring the town, hoping to shake off the unsettling experience. The town was charming, with friendly locals and picturesque scenery, but the memory of the man at the window was never far from my thoughts. Returning to the motel that evening, I felt a sense of dread creeping back in. As night descended once more, the man reappeared, his figure visible through the thin curtains. This time he was closer, his face almost pressed against the glass. My husband called the front desk, but the response was nonchalant, as if such occurrences were normal. The lack of concern from the staff was chilling. We decided to pack our things and leave immediately. But as we prepared to go, the situation took a terrifying turn. The man began pounding on the window, shouting incoherently. My heart raced as we grabbed our bags and rushed to the car. The fear was palpable, every second feeling like an eternity. As we sped away from the motel, the man chased us, his figure growing smaller in the rearview mirror, but leaving a haunting impression. The relief of leaving him behind was immense, but the fear remained. We drove straight to the nearest police station, reporting the incident in detail. The officers took our statement and assured us they would investigate. Their reassurances were somewhat comforting, but the chilling memory of that night was hard to shake. We found another motel, one with better security and a more welcoming atmosphere, and tried to get some rest. The next day, the police contacted us with an update. The man had a history of disturbing behavior, and the motel was known for attracting unsavory characters. Their nonchalance now made sense, but it did little to alleviate our fear. The haunting experience had left a lasting impact, turning what was meant to be a relaxing getaway into a nightmare. In the weeks that followed, we struggled to put the incident behind us. Sleep was difficult, with nightmares of the man's face at our window. Sharing the story with friends and family, we emphasized the importance of choosing safe accommodations and being vigilant. Our story served as a chilling reminder of how quickly things could go wrong. Gradually, we regained our confidence in traveling, but with a newfound sense of caution. Each trip was planned meticulously, ensuring our safety and peace of mind. The memory of the motel horror remained a part of our travel tales, a lesson in vigilance and the unpredictability of life. Over time, fear faded, but the lessons learned stayed with us. Reflecting on the experience, we realized the strength it had brought out in us. Haunting memory of that night became a symbol of resilience, a testament to our ability to face fear and protect each other. The motel, once a place of terror, now served as a reminder of our courage and the importance of safety. In the end, our bond grew stronger, fortified by the ordeal we had faced together. The chilling experience had tested us, but it also brought us closer. Our story became a cautionary tale for others, highlighting the importance of vigilance and the strength found in unity. The motel horror was a dark chapter, but it also illuminated the light of our resilience and love. Working as a hotel security guard usually meant quiet nights and routine patrols. The old hotel had its charm, but it also had its share of eerie stories. One night, during a particularly quiet shift, I noticed something strange on the surveillance cameras. A figure was sneaking into guests' rooms, moving with a disturbing familiarity. The sight was chilling, sending a wave of unease through me. I decided to investigate, making my way through the dimly lit hallways. The hotel was eerily silent, every sound amplified in the stillness. As I approached the room where the figure had last been seen, I felt a knot of fear tighten in my chest. I reached for my radio to call for backup. The signal was dead. The situation was growing more haunting by the second. Pushing the door open, I found the room empty, but the bed was disturbed, and the guests' belongings were scattered. The eerie realization that someone had been there, and might still be close, sent chills down my spine. I continued my search, checking each room with increasing anxiety. The corridors felt longer, the shadows darker, and the silence more oppressive. Suddenly I heard a noise from the basement. Gathering my courage, I descended the narrow stairs, the air growing colder and more oppressive. The basement was a maze of old storage rooms, each one more eerie than the last. I followed the sound to a room at the far end, my heart pounding with each step. The door creaked open, revealing a dark figure rummaging through boxes. "Hey! What are you doing?" I shouted, my voice echoing in the confined space. The figure turned, and for a moment, I saw a pair of eyes reflecting the dim light, filled with a haunting intensity. The intruder lunged at me, and we grappled in the narrow space. The fight was chaotic, filled with the sounds of crashing boxes and grunts of effort. The fear was overwhelming, but adrenaline kept me moving. In the struggle, I managed to subdue the intruder and secure him with the cuffs I always carried. The eerie stillness returned as I caught my breath, the reality of what had just happened sinking in. The intruder was a former employee, disgruntled and seeking revenge. His actions had been driven by a twisted sense of retribution. Discovery was both chilling and tragic. Police arrived shortly after, taking the man into custody. The guests were notified, and extra security measures were put in place. The hotel's management praised my quick thinking, but the haunting memory of those intense moments in the basement lingered. Couldn't shake the image of those eyes, filled with anger and desperation. In the days that followed, I found it difficult to return to the basement. The shadows seemed to hold more secret. Every creak of the floorboards brought back the memory of that night. The experience had changed me, instilling a deeper sense of vigilance and caution. Sharing the story with my colleagues, I emphasized the importance of staying alert and prepared for anything. The incident became a part of the hotel's lore, chilling tale shared among staff and guests. Served as a reminder of the potential dangers lurking even in familiar places. My role as a security guard took on a new significance, and I took pride in knowing I had protected the guests from harm. Yet, the haunting experience had left its mark. Reflecting on the ordeal, I realized the strength it had brought out in me. The haunting encounter in the basement had tested my resolve, but it also highlighted the importance of courage and quick thinking. The hotel, once a place of routine and comfort, now held a different meaning, a reminder of the unpredictable nature of life. Over time, I regained my confidence, though the memory of that night remained vivid. The experience reinforced the need for preparedness and vigilance in all aspects of life. My story became a testament to resilience, a reminder of the strength we find within ourselves when faced with danger. Chilling encounter had changed me, but it had also made me stronger. In the end, the hotel continued to thrive, its halls once again filled with the laughter and bustle of guests. The basement, its haunting memories, was just a part of the building's history. My story served as a cautionary tale, highlighting the importance of vigilance and the courage needed to face the unknown. Eerie Night was a dark chapter, but it also illuminated the strength and resilience within us all. Renovating old houses always brought a mix of excitement and nostalgia. This particular house, nestled on the edge of town, was no different. It had a charm that hinted at its past glory. However, from the moment I set foot inside, there was an eerie feeling in the air. The walls seemed to whisper secrets, and the silence was heavy, almost haunting. Little did I know, this project would uncover a chilling secret. One afternoon, while tearing down a decaying wall in the basement, I made a disturbing discovery. Behind the wall was a hidden room, filled with old, dusty furniture and an eerie array of personal items. As I ventured further, the air grew colder, and an unsettling feeling crept over me. The light from my flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance on the walls. Then I saw them. Human bones, carefully arranged and partially buried. My heart raced as I realized the gravity of my find. These were not ancient relics, but relatively recent remains. The eerie silence of the house now felt suffocating. I immediately called the police, describing my haunting discovery. As I waited for them to arrive, every creak and groan of the old house felt amplified, each one sending chills down my spine. The once charming house had turned into a sight of horror. Police arrived and quickly took over the scene, cordoning off the area and beginning their investigation. Their presence was reassuring, but the haunting reality of the situation was hard to shake. As they carefully unearthed more evidence, it became clear that this was the work of a serial killer. The house, with its hidden room, had been a lair for unspeakable acts. The chilling discovery made headlines, and the quiet town was thrown into a state of shock. In the days that followed, the investigation revealed a dark history. Previous owner had vanished years ago, leaving the house abandoned. The bones were identified as missing persons from surrounding towns, victims of a cunning and elusive predator. The house, once a potential dream home, was now a crime scene. The haunting details of the investigation were hard to escape, even as I tried to focus on my work. Returning to the house to finish the renovation felt like stepping into a nightmare. The eerie silence was now filled with the weight of its dark history. Every room seemed to hold shadows of the past, and the sense of being watched was constant. The walls, once symbols of history and charm, now felt like silent witnesses to horror. It was a chilling reminder of the evil that can hide behind the most innocent facades. Despite the fear, I continued the work, driven by a need to restore some semblance of normalcy to the house. Community supported the project, hoping to erase the haunting memories and create a fresh start. As I worked, I couldn't help but think of the victims and the lives cut short within these walls. Their presence felt palpable, a reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface. As the renovation neared completion, the house began to transform. Fresh paint and new fixtures replaced the decay. The haunting memories remained. Final touches were bittersweet, a mix of pride in the work done and sorrow for the lives lost. The house, once a symbol of horror, now stood as a testament to resilience and renewal. The eerie atmosphere had lifted slightly, but the memory of the discovery lingered. Sharing the story with friends and colleagues, I emphasized the importance of vigilance and awareness. The haunting experience had taught me to trust my instincts and remain cautious, even in seemingly benign situations. The house, with its dark history, became a symbol of survival and the enduring spirit of the community. My story served as a chilling reminder of the unpredictability of life. The renovation was finally complete, and the house was put up for sale. Prospective buyers were informed of its history, and many were drawn to the idea of giving it a new lease on life. The haunting past was part of its story, but it also highlighted the strength and resilience of those who had worked to restore it. The house stood as a beacon of hope, a symbol of overcoming darkness. In the end, the project had been more than just a renovation. It had been a journey through fear and resilience. The haunting discovery had tested my courage and resolve, but it had also brought the community together. The house, once filled with secrets and shadows, now stood as a testament to the power of renewal and the enduring spirit of those who face their fears head-on. It was a story of that had been transformed into a symbol of hope and resilience. My buddy and I decided to go hunting in the dense woods of Arkansas. The winter air was crisp, and the forest had an eerie silence that made the hairs on my neck stand up. As we trekked deeper into the woods, the quiet became almost suffocating. The only sounds were our footsteps crunching on the snow and the occasional rustle of branches. It felt like we were being watched, a chilling sensation that was hard to shake. Setting up camp, we tried to ignore the unsettling atmosphere. Nightfall brought a haunting stillness, a sign that makes you hyper-aware of every little noise. We sat by the fire, telling stories to keep our spirits up. Suddenly, we heard a low growl, unlike any animal I'd ever heard. The sound was chilling, sending a wave of fear through both of us. We grabbed our rifles, trying to peer into the darkness. Out of the shadows, a grotesque creature emerged, its eyes glowing eerily in the firelight. It stood on two legs, its body twisted and malformed. My heart pounded as I realized we were facing something not of this world. The creature lunged at us, its speed terrifying. My friend fired a shot, but it barely seemed to faze the beast. The air was filled with the stench of decay, adding to the horror. The creature attacked my friend, knocking him to the ground. His screams were haunting, echoing through the silent woods. I fired my rifle, aiming for the creature's head. The shot rang out, and the creature let out a blood-curdling scream before collapsing. I rushed to my friend's side, but the damage was done. He was badly injured, his body shaking with shock and pain. Desperation kicked in as I tried to tend to his wounds. The creature's body lay still. The eerie feeling that more could be lurking around kept me on edge. We had to get out of there. I helped my friend to his feet, and we started the long, painful journey back to our truck. Every step was agonizing, the fear of another attack haunting us. Cold seemed to sap our strength, and my friend was fading fast. The forest felt like it was closing in on us, every shadow potentially hiding another creature. When we finally reached the truck, I breathed a sigh of relief. We sped towards the nearest hospital, the night's events playing over and over in my mind. My friend was taken into surgery, his life hanging in the balance. The authorities were skeptical of our story, but the evidence of my friend's injuries was undeniable. They sent a team to investigate, but the creature's body had vanished. The eerie reality that such a beast could exist in those woods was hard to accept. We were left with more questions than answers, and a chilling fear that it could happen again. My friend survived, but the experience left deep scars, both physical and mental. We never spoke of the incident publicly, but among ourselves, the memory was haunting. The forest, once a place of adventure, was now a reminder of the horrors we'd faced. We vowed never to return, the eerie silence of the woods forever imprinted in our minds. Over time, the terror we experienced faded, but the lessons remained. The haunting memory of that night served as a reminder of the unknown dangers that can lurk in the most unexpected places. Sharing our story with close friends, we emphasized the importance of being prepared for anything. The chilling encounter had tested our courage and survival instincts in ways we never imagined. The Arkansas winter horror changed us, deepening our bond and our appreciation for life. We moved on, but the memory of that grotesque creature and the eerie silence of the woods stayed with us. It was a chilling reminder of the unpredictability of nature and the importance of vigilance. Our story, once a terrifying experience, became a testament to our resilience and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Camping in Hocking Hills National Park had always been on our bucket list. My partner and I set out for a weekend getaway, eager to embrace the beauty of nature. The park was stunning with its dense woods and cascading waterfalls, but as night fell, the atmosphere shifted. An eerie silence descended, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. Setting up our camp, we couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The woods felt alive with an unseen presence, adding a chilling edge to our adventure. As we settled by the campfire, the tranquility was disrupted by a blood-curdling scream. It sounded like an animal in pain, but there was something hauntingly human about it. We froze, straining to hear any other sounds. The scream echoed through the forest, making the hair on my arms stand up. My partner and I exchanged nervous glances, both of us unsettled by the eerie noise. Determined to stay calm, we decided to investigate. Armed with flashlights, we ventured into the darkness, the beams cutting through the thick woods. Forest seemed to close in around us, every shadow dancing menacingly in the light. The air was thick with tension, each step amplifying the eerie silence. We called out. There was no response, just the chilling echo of our own voices. Suddenly, the scream pierced the silence again, closer this time. We hurried back to our campsite, hearts pounding. The fire's warm glow was a welcome sight. The feeling of being watched was stronger than ever. We decided to keep the fire burning and stayed close to each other, trying to find comfort in the familiar. The night was far from over, and every sound kept us on edge. As the hours dragged on, we heard footsteps circling our campsite. Crunch of leaves and snapping twigs were unnervingly close. We grabbed our knives, ready to defend ourselves. The footsteps stopped abruptly, and the silence that followed was deafening. My partner whispered, "You think it's a person?" The thought was chilling, but we couldn't be sure. The unseen presence was haunting, making it impossible to relax. We decided to take turns keeping watch, but sleep was elusive. The forest, once a place of peace and beauty, had turned into a nightmarish landscape. Every rustle of leaves, every distant howl, added to the eerie atmosphere. My shift was filled with the chilling sensation of eyes on me, though I saw nothing in the darkness. The hours crawled by, each minute feeling like an eternity. At dawn, the forest slowly came to life, the eerie night retreating with the rising sun. We packed up quickly, eager to leave the haunting experience behind. Park, now bathed in sunlight, seemed less menacing, but the memory of the night lingered. We reported the screams and footsteps to the park rangers, who promised to investigate. Their reassurances were somewhat comforting. The chilling experience had left its mark. Back home, we struggled to shake off the eerie feeling. The beautiful memories of the park were overshadowed by the haunting night. Sharing our story with friends, we found a mix of fascination and disbelief. Some suggested it was just wild animals. We knew it was something more. The experience had changed us, instilling a sense of caution and respect for the unknown. In the weeks that followed, we researched other campers' experiences in Hocking Hills. We found similar stories of eerie noises and unsettling encounters, which validated our fears. The park, with all its beauty, held secrets that were both fascinating and terrifying. Our story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the unpredictability of nature and the importance of being prepared. Over time, the fear faded, the lessons remained. The haunting experience had deepened our bond and our appreciation for each other. We continued to camp, but with a newfound vigilance. The memory of that chilling night in Hocking Hills became a part of our shared history, a story of resilience and survival. It was a testament to the enduring spirit of adventure and the human capacity to face and overcome fear. Camping on a remote island off the coast of Louisiana sounded like the perfect adventure. My girlfriend and I packed our gear, eager for a weekend away from the hustle and bustle of city life. The boat ride to the island was serene, the water calm, and the weather perfect. As we set up our tent on the sandy shore, the island seemed like a paradise. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, atmosphere took on an eerie, almost chilling quality. The first sign of trouble came with the sound of rustling in the underbrush. We thought it might be small animals, but the noises grew louder and more unsettling. The island, which had seemed so peaceful during the day, now felt hauntingly isolated. We decided to start a fire, hoping the light would keep any wildlife at bay. Flickering flames cast eerie shadows, making the surrounding woods look even more sinister. Suddenly, a loud snort and the sound of heavy footsteps broke the silence. Wild hogs emerged from the darkness, their eyes glinting in the firelight. They were larger than I had imagined, and their presence was unnerving. We backed away slowly, trying not to provoke them. The hogs seemed more curious than aggressive, but the encounter was chilling nonetheless. Eventually they wandered off, leaving us shaken. Just as we started to relax, we heard splashing in the water. Rushing to the shoreline, we saw our boat rocking violently, nearly submerged. Panic set in as we realized that without the boat, we were stranded. We tried to pull it back to shore, but the water was deep and the current strong. The situation was becoming increasingly dire, and the eerie isolation of the island was now our greatest enemy. We spent the next hour securing the boat, finally managing to drag it back to the beach. Exhausted, we returned to the campfire, hoping for some rest. But the island had other plans. Throughout the night, we heard strange noises, branches snapping, distant howls, and the constant rustling of leaves. The sense of being watched was ever present, making it impossible to sleep. Every sound seemed amplified, each one more chilling than the last. In the early hours of the morning, a dense fog rolled in, reducing visibility to almost nothing. The island felt even more haunting, its eerie silence now accompanied by the oppressive fog. We decided to explore a bit, hoping to find a better spot for our campsite. As we ventured deeper into the woods, the fog grew thicker, making it hard to navigate. The trees loomed like ghostly figures, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. Suddenly, we stumbled upon an old, abandoned cabin. Its weathered wood and broken windows gave it a haunting appearance. Inside, we found signs of previous campers, old cans, torn sleeping bags, and graffiti on the walls. The place had an unsettling vibe, as if it held memories of past horrors. We quickly left, deciding it was best to return to our camp and prepare to leave the island at first light. Back at the campsite, we tried to stay calm and collected. The boat was secure and the fog was starting to lift. But the night was far from over. We heard more rustling, this time closer and more aggressive. The wild hogs had returned, and they were not alone. We could hear their grunts and the crashing of underbrush as they moved closer. We grabbed our knives, ready to defend ourselves if necessary. Pogs circled our camp, their presence a constant, chilling reminder of the island's dangers. After what felt like hours, they finally retreated, leaving us in peace. First rays of sunlight broke through the fog, bringing with them a sense of relief. We packed up quickly, eager to leave the haunting island behind. The boat ride back to the mainland was tense, but we made it safely. The experience left us both shaken and relieved. We had survived the eerie and chilling night on the island. The memory of the wild hogs and the submerged boat would haunt us for a long time. Sharing our story with friends, we emphasized the importance of being prepared and staying vigilant. The island, once a dream destination, had turned into a nightmare. In the end, the adventure taught us valuable lessons about resilience and the unpredictability of nature. Chilling encounters had tested our courage and strengthened our bond. We continued to camp, with a newfound respect for the wild and its hidden danger. The Louisiana Island horror became a part of our shared history, a story of survival and the haunting beauty of nature. Camping at Snively Hot Springs in Oregon had always been on our list, and doing it on Friday the 13th with a full moon seemed like an adventure we couldn't pass up. My friends and I packed our gear, ready for a weekend of fun and relaxation. The hot springs were beautiful, the steam rising from the warm water creating an eerie, mystical atmosphere. As night fell, the full moon cast an eerie glow over the landscape, and the excitement of the day gave way to a chilling sense of unease. We set up our camp near the springs, the crackling fire providing a comforting light in the darkness. The night was quiet, too quiet, with an eerie silence that felt almost oppressive. We laughed and joked, trying to shake off the unsettling feeling, but the forest seemed to be watching us. The shadows danced menacingly, and every rustle of leaves made us jump. Felt like the calm before a storm, and the tension was palpable. Around midnight, we heard a series of strange noises. First, it sounded like branches snapping, but then it became clear. There were growls, low and menacing. My heart started to race as we realized we weren't alone. The sound grew closer, echoing through the trees. It was chilling to think that something was lurking just beyond the reach of our campfire's light. We huddled together, eerie atmosphere thick with fear. One of my friends suggested it might be mountain lions. Thought was both terrifying and sobering. We knew mountain lions were elusive and rarely seen, but their presence was unmistakable. Growls grew louder, and we could hear the unmistakable sound of something large moving through the underbrush. The forest, which had been so serene during the day, had transformed into a haunting and dangerous place. We decided to stay close to the fire, hoping the light would keep the predators at bay. The night dragged on, every minute feeling like an hour. The eerie growls continued, punctuated by periods of silence that were even more unsettling. We took turns keeping watch, our senses heightened by the chilling reality of our situation. Full moon cast long shadows, making it hard to tell what was real and what was imagined. Around 3 a.m., we saw them, two pairs of glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. My heart nearly stopped as the mountain lions emerged from the shadows, their sleek bodies moving silently. They watched us, their eyes cold and predatory. We stayed as still as possible, barely daring to breathe. Tension was unbearable, the fear almost paralyzing. Felt like a standoff, each side waiting for the other to make a move. After what felt like an eternity, the mountain lions slowly backed away, disappearing into the darkness. Relief was overwhelming. The fear remained. We knew they were still out there, watching. The rest of the night was spent in anxious silence, our eyes darting to every shadow, every flicker of movement. The forest's eerie quiet was now a constant reminder of the predators lurking nearby. The first light of dawn, we packed up our camp, eager to leave the haunting experience behind. The hot springs, which had seemed so inviting, now felt like a trap. As we hiked back to our cars, forest seemed to come alive again, birds chirping and the sun casting a warm glow. Contrast between the night and day was stark, but the memory of those glowing eyes stayed with us. We reported the encounter to the park rangers, confirmed that mountain lions were known to roam the area. Their reassurances did little to ease our minds, but it was comforting to know that our fear had been justified. The experience had left us all shaken, a chilling reminder of nature's unpredictability. Sharing our story with friends, we emphasized the importance of respecting the wild and being prepared for anything. In the days that followed, the fear subsided, but the lessons remained. The haunting memory of that Friday the 13th campout had deepened our bond and our appreciation for life. Continued to camp, but with a newfound respect for the wild and its hidden dangers. The experience had tested our courage and resilience, and we emerged stronger for it. The Friday the 13th nightmare became a part of our shared history, a story we told with a mix of fear and pride. It was a chilling reminder of the thin line between adventure and danger and the importance of vigilance in the wild. The hot springs, once a place of beauty and relaxation, now held a darker significance, a testament to the enduring power of nature and the resilience of the human spirit. Hiking in the mountains with friends is one of my favorite pastimes. This particular trip was supposed to be a relaxing escape into nature. The three of us were excited, backpacks filled with supplies, ready to tackle the trail. The day was perfect, the sun shining brightly and a gentle breeze keeping us cool. The forest was dense and the air was fresh, filled with the scent of pine. However, as we ventured deeper into the mountains, an eerie feeling began to settle over us. We first noticed the tracks on the trail, large paw prints that could only belong to a mountain lion. The realization was chilling. We decided to press on, keeping a vigilant eye on our surroundings. Forest seemed quieter than usual, the normal sounds of wildlife replaced by an eerie silence. We talked in hushed tones, the tension palpable as we continued our hike. Suddenly, we heard a rustling in the bushes ahead. We froze, our eyes scanning the area for any sign of movement. Out of the shadows, a mountain lion appeared, eyes fixed on us with a haunting intensity. It was a mother with a cub trailing behind her. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. We knew that any sudden movements could provoke an attack. We slowly backed away, trying to give the mountain lion space. My heart pounded in my chest and I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. The lion watched us, its muscles tense, ready to pounce if it felt threatened. The eerie silence of the forest amplified the tension, each second feeling like an eternity. We had to navigate this encounter carefully to avoid a deadly confrontation. The cub started to move towards us, curious and unaware of the danger. The mother let out a low growl, a chilling warning that sent shivers down my spine. We continued to back away, speaking softly and reassuringly to each other. The lion finally herded her cub away from the trail, disappearing into the dense underbrush. The relief was immense, but the fear lingered. We decided to change our route, opting for a less treacherous path back to our campsite. Forest, once a place of beauty and tranquility, now felt menacing. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig made us jump. The eerie feeling of being watched stayed with us, and our nerves were on edge. The encounter had shaken us deeply. As we made our way back, the sun began to set, casting long shadows on the trail. The forest took on a haunting quality, the fading light making everything look more sinister. We walked quickly, eager to reach the safety of our campsite. The eerie silence of the night was broken only by our hurried footsteps and the occasional call of a distant owl. Back at the campsite, we built a large fire, hoping the light and warmth would keep any predators away. We sat close together, the memory of the mountain lion encounter fresh in our minds. Fire cast eerie shadows on the trees, and every sound made us jump. The forest, once our sanctuary, now felt like a place of danger. We decided to keep watch in shifts, ensuring someone was always alert. The night was long and filled with strange noises. Haunting call of a night bird, the rustling of small animals in the underbrush, and the eerie howl of the wind kept us on edge. Sleep was elusive, and the memory of those piercing eyes stayed with us. The experience had bonded us in a way nothing else could, but it had also instilled a deep respect for the wild and its dangers. Morning brought a sense of relief, the daylight dispelling some of the fear. We packed up quickly, eager to leave the mountains behind. The hike back to our cars was tense but uneventful. The forest seemed less threatening in the daylight, but the memory of the mountain lion encounter was ever present. We were grateful to have made it through the night unscathed. Reflecting on the experience, we realized how close we had come to a potentially deadly encounter. The chilling presence of the mountain lion had taught us valuable lessons about nature and our place within it. We shared our story with friends, emphasizing the importance of vigilance and respect for wildlife. The encounter had changed us, deepening our bond and our appreciation for life. The mountain lion encounter became a part of our shared history, a chilling reminder of the wild's unpredictability. It reinforced the need for caution and respect when venturing into nature. Our story served as a testament to our resilience and the enduring power of friendship. The mountains, once a place of pure joy, now held a deeper, more complex significance, reminding us of both the beauty and the danger that nature holds. My partner and I had been planning a camping trip in the state forest for weeks. We were excited to escape into nature and enjoy some quiet time together. The drive to the forest was beautiful, with the autumn leaves creating a vibrant tapestry of reds and golds. As we set up our tent, the forest felt welcoming, the crisp air filled with the scent of pine. Little did we know, the night would take a chilling turn we'd never forget. As we prepared dinner over the campfire, the atmosphere was serene. We laughed and talked, enjoying the crackling fire and the calmness of the woods. But our peace was shattered when my partner accidentally cut their hand while handling a knife. The wound was deep, and blood flowed freely, adding a chilling edge to our evening. We quickly cleaned and bandaged the injury, but the mood had shifted. Despite the injury, we decided to stay. The night was clear and the stars were brilliant overhead. However, the forest around us began to feel more eerie as darkness fell. The usual sounds of wildlife seemed distant, replaced by an unsettling silence. The fire's light cast long, flickering shadows that made the trees look like looming specters. The sense of being watched was palpable, sending chills down my spine. We tried to relax, but the tension was ever present. Every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig seemed amplified, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Suddenly, we heard a loud, haunting howl in the distance. It was unlike any animal sound we'd ever heard, and it echoed through the forest, making the hair on my neck stand up. We exchanged nervous glances, both feeling the same chilling fear. The howling continued, growing closer. We couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there, watching us. We stoked the fire, hoping the flames would keep any predators at bay. The night air grew colder, and the darkness seemed to press in on us. We stayed close to the fire, our senses heightened by the fear of the unknown. The eerie silence between the howls was almost worse than the noise itself. Just as we began to think about packing up and leaving, we heard something moving in the underbrush. The sound was deliberate, not like the random rustling of small animals. My heart pounded as we strained to see what it was. Suddenly, a pair of glowing eyes appeared in the darkness, reflecting the firelight. The sight was chilling, and we realized it was a large animal, possibly a wolf. Breacher stayed at the edge of the firelight, watching us with a haunting intensity. We made noise, hoping to scare it away, but it seemed unfazed. The fear was almost paralyzing, but we knew we had to stay calm. We kept the fire high and stayed close to each other, ready to defend ourselves if necessary. The standoff lasted for what felt like hours, tension unbearable. Eventually, the wolf retreated into the darkness, leaving us both shaken and relieved. The rest of the night was spent in anxious vigilance, every sound keeping us on edge. Forest, once a place of beauty and peace, now felt like a threatening wilderness. We took turns keeping watch, our eyes darting to every shadow, every flicker of movement. The haunting experience had transformed our adventure into a night of survival. As dawn broke, the forest seemed to come alive again. Eerie silence replaced by the sounds of birds and rustling leaves. We packed up quickly, eager to leave the chilling memories behind. The drive home was filled with a mix of relief and exhaustion. We couldn't stop talking about the night's events, trying to make sense of the fear we had felt. The experience had left a deep mark on both of us. In the days that followed, we shared our story with friends and family. They were captivated by the tale, chilling reminder of the unpredictability of nature. The lessons we learned about preparedness and vigilance were invaluable. The injury, the howls, and the wolf's eyes had all tested our courage and resolve. We realized how fragile our sense of security could be in the wild. The state forest camping trip became a part of our shared history, a story we told with a mix of pride and trepidation. It reinforced the importance of respecting nature and being prepared for the unexpected. Our bond grew stronger, forged in the fires of fear and resilience. The haunting memories of that night served as a testament to our endurance and the power of facing our fears together. Solo camping had always been a way for me to reconnect with nature and find peace away from the noise of daily life. This time, I chose a closed trail in California, known for its stunning views and serene environment. The idea of solitude was appealing, but as I hiked deeper into the wilderness, an eerie feeling began to creep in. The trail was overgrown and seldom used, adding to the sense of isolation. By the time I set up my camp, forest had taken on an eerie, that almost haunting quality. As night fell, the sounds of the forest amplified. The rustling leaves, distant animal calls, and the wind through the trees created a symphony that was both beautiful and unsettling. I built a fire, hoping its light and warmth would keep my nerves at bay. The flickering flames cast long shadows, making the surrounding woods look even more mysterious. Despite the calm, the feeling of being watched was hard to shake. The first sign of trouble came with a low, rumbling growl that echoed through the trees. My heart raced as I realized I was not alone. The growl was chilling, the kind that sends a primal fear coursing through your veins. I grabbed my flashlight and scanned the darkness, but saw nothing. The firelight provided little comfort as I sat, tense and alert, straining to hear any other sounds. Minutes felt like hours as I waited in the eerie silence. Then, I heard it again. Another growl, closer this time. The realization that a cougar might be nearby was terrifying. Cougars are known for their stealth and strength, and the thought of encountering one alone in the dark was haunting. I knew I had to stay calm and think clearly. I decided to keep the fire going and made sure my camp was secure. Suddenly, I heard movement just beyond the light of the fire. The sound of something large moving through the underbrush was unmistakable. My flashlight beam caught a glimpse of eyes reflecting the light, glowing eerily in the darkness. The sight was chilling. I slowly backed away, hoping to avoid provoking the animal. The eyes disappeared. Fear remained. I decided to stay close to the fire, using it as my only defense against the darkness. The night was long, filled with the sounds of the forest and my own pounding heart. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves, kept me on edge. The eerie sensation of being watched was constant, making sleep impossible. I took short, restless naps, always waking to the haunting sounds of the wilderness. Around midnight, the growls returned, this time accompanied by the sound of something circling my camp. The realization that the cougar was still there, watching and waiting, was terrifying. I made noise, hoping to scare it off. The presence lingered. The forest felt alive with unseen threats, and the fire's light seemed to shrink against the encroaching darkness. As the hours dragged on, the growls eventually faded into the distance. The forest began to quiet down. The fear did not. The night had been a test of endurance and resolve, each moment a struggle to stay calm and alert. First light of dawn brought a sense of relief, eerie shadows retreating with the darkness. I packed up quickly, eager to leave the haunting experience behind. The hike back to my car was tense, uneventful. The daylight brought a new perspective. The memory of the night lingered. The encounter had left me shaken, a chilling reminder of nature's unpredictability. I reported the incident to the park rangers, who confirmed that cougar sightings were rare, but not unheard of. Their reassurances were comforting, but the fear was still fresh. In the days that followed, I reflected on the experience. The fear had been real, but so was my determination to face it. Solo camping had always been a way to challenge myself, and this trip had pushed me to my limits. Sharing the story with friends, I emphasized the importance of being prepared and staying vigilant. The haunting memory of the growls and glowing eyes served as a reminder of the wild's raw power. This solo camping trip in California became a part of my personal lore, a story of survival and resilience. It deepened my respect for nature and my understanding of fear. I continued to camp alone, but with a newfound caution and preparedness. The experience had tested me, but it had also strengthened me, turning fear into a powerful lesson about the beauty and danger of the wilderness. Fishing at Lost Creek Lake with my friend Frank had always been a cherished escape. We'd set out early that morning, the mist still hanging low over the water, casting an eerie veil over the lake. The day had been peaceful, filled with laughter and the occasional fish tugging on our lines. As evening approached, an unsettling silence fell over the area, and an odd feeling gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. The once serene lake now seemed hauntingly still, the air heavy with an unspoken tension. We decided to pack up our gear just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the campsite. As we gathered our things, a chilling sound echoed across the lake, a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down my spine. Frank and I exchanged uneasy glances, trying to dismiss it as a distant animal, but the eerie silence that followed was even more unnerving. We hurried our pace, eager to leave before darkness fully enveloped us. Suddenly, we heard a loud crash. Our tackle box had been flung open, its contents strewn across the ground as if by an unseen force. My heart raced as we inspected the damage, unable to comprehend what could have caused it. Frank suggested it might have been a wild animal, but there was no sign of tracks or disturbances around the campsite. The eerie feeling of being watched grew stronger, making the hair on the back of my neck stand up. As we hastily cleaned up, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. It was Frank. I turned to see him being dragged towards the lake by an unseen force, his face a mask of terror. My legs felt like lead as I tried to run towards him, my heart pounding in my chest. The darkness seemed to close in around me, making every step feel like a struggle. The scream abruptly stopped, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Frantically, I searched the area where Frank had disappeared, but there was no trace of him. The lake, now shrouded in darkness, seemed to mock me with its stillness. Panic set in as I realized I was alone, miles from civilization, with no way to contact help. The air was thick with a chilling sense of dread, every rustle of leaves sounding like a sinister whisper. I knew I had to find a way out before whatever took Frank came back for me. I stumbled back to our campsite, desperately trying to gather my thoughts. The eerie silence was broken only by the occasional splash of water, each sound making me jump. I grabbed a flashlight and began scanning the area, hoping against hope to find some sign of Frank. The beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but the haunting emptiness of the lake and surrounding woods. Hours seemed to pass as I sat by the fire, the flickering flames casting eerie shadows that danced in the night. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the haunting image of Frank's terrified face replaying in my mind. Exhaustion and fear battled for control, but I knew I couldn't afford to fall asleep. The darkness felt alive, every sound amplified by the tension. The night dragged on, each minute feeling like an eternity. Just as dawn began to break, I heard a soft, chilling whisper. It was faint, almost indistinguishable from the wind, but unmistakably my name. My blood ran cold as I turned towards the sound, the eerie whisper growing louder. I shone my flashlight in the direction of the voice, but saw nothing. The whisper continued, sending chills down my spine. I knew I had to leave before the darkness claimed me too. With the first light of day, I packed up what little gear remained and made my way back to the car. The eerie silence of the forest was now filled with the normal sounds of morning, but the memory of the night's events lingered. Driving away, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following me, watching from the shadows. The haunting experience at Lost Creek Lake changed me. leaving a deep scar that would never fully heal. Reporting Frank's disappearance to the authorities was a painful ordeal. They searched the area but found no trace of him. The official story was that he had drowned, but I knew the truth was far more sinister. The lake, with its haunting beauty, had a darkness that lurked beneath the surface. Sharing my story with friends, I could see the disbelief in their eyes, but I knew what I had experienced. The chilling memory of that night would stay with me forever, a reminder of the unseen horrors that can lurk in the most serene places. Taking a shortcut through the Mark Twain National Forest seemed like a good idea at the time. I was on my way to visit family and thought the scenic route would be a pleasant change. The forest was dense and beautiful, with towering trees and a serene atmosphere. But as the sun began to set, the shadows grew longer, and the forest took on an eerie quality. The sense of tranquility gave way to a feeling of unease, making me wish I'd stuck to the main roads. Driving along the narrow, winding path, I spotted a faint glow through the trees. Curious and a bit wary, I decided to check it out. As I approached, I saw a small cabin with smoke curling from the chimney. A woman sat by a fire outside, her face illuminated by the flickering flames. She looked up as I neared, and though her smile was warm, there was something chilling in her eyes. I called out a greeting, and she beckoned me closer. As I got closer, I noticed a figure lying by the fire. My heart skipped a beat when I realized it was a man, motionless and pale. The woman introduced herself as Eliza and explained that her husband had fallen ill. There was a haunting quality to her voice, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Despite her calm demeanor, the situation felt eerie, and my instincts screamed at me to leave. Eliza invited me to sit by the fire, insisting she could use some company. Against my better judgment, I sat down, trying to keep my distance from the man lying on the ground. Fire crackled, casting eerie shadows on the surrounding trees. Eliza spoke softly, her words almost hypnotic, but I could feel an undercurrent of something sinister. The man remained still, his chest barely rising and falling. As the night deepened, Eliza's demeanor shifted. Her smile faded, replaced by a look of cold calculation. She began to tell me stories of the forest, tales of lost travelers, and strange occurrences. Each story was more chilling than the last, and the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. The shadows seemed to close in around us, and the air grew heavy with a sense of impending doom. Suddenly, the man by the fire let out a low, guttural groan. Eliza's eyes gleamed with a sinister light as she turned to look at him. She stood up slowly, revealing a knife hidden in her cloak. My heart raced as I realized the true danger I was in. She approached the man, and I could see now that he was bound and gagged, his eyes wide with terror. The realization hit me like a cold wave. This was no ordinary cabin, and Eliza was no helpless wife. Fear surged through me as I stood up, backing away from the fire. Eliza turned her gaze towards me, her smile returning, but this time it was predatory. "You're not leaving, are you?" she asked, her voice dripping with menace. I didn't wait to find out what she had planned. I bolted towards my car, my footsteps pounding against the forest floor. The eerie silence was broken by her chilling laughter, echoing through the trees. I reached my car and fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw Eliza standing by the fire, her figure growing smaller in the distance. The forest closed in around me, the darkness pressing against the car windows. The sense of relief was overwhelming. Fear lingered. I didn't stop driving until I was far from the forest, memory of that eerie encounter haunting my thoughts. Reporting the incident to the authorities was difficult. They took my statement seriously, but found no trace of Eliza or the man. The cabin, they said, had been abandoned for years. The realization that I had encountered something beyond the ordinary was chilling. The forest, with its beauty and tranquility, now held a dark and sinister secret. Sharing my story with friends, I saw their disbelief, but I knew what I had experienced. The shortcut through Mark Twain National Forest had turned into a nightmare. The haunting encounter with Eliza and the man by the fire left a deep scar. I avoided that route from then on, the memory of her chilling smile and the eerie silence of the forest constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places. The experience had changed me, instilling a new sense of caution and respect for the unknown. Growing up in rural southern Ontario, Canada, meant I was used to the quiet and solitude of country living. But one night, when I was 18, that familiar tranquility turned into a chilling encounter I would never forget. It started like any other evening. I was taking out the garbage, cool night air filled with the sense of autumn. The stars were bright, and the only sounds were the distant calls of nocturnal animals. As I walked back towards the house, an eerie feeling washed over me, as if I were being watched. I paused, trying to shake off the unsettling sensation. That's when I saw them, two glowing eyes in the darkness, staring directly at me from across the field. My heart skipped a beat as I froze, the eerie glow sending chills down my spine. The eyes were too high off the ground to belong to any known animal in the area, and their unblinking gaze was haunting. I stood there, rooted to the spot, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. It was a sound unlike anything I had ever heard, a mix of human agony and animal rage. My blood ran cold as the scream echoed through the night, the glowing eyes remaining fixed on me. The scream seemed to come from the same direction as the eyes, adding to the eerie, supernatural atmosphere. I felt a surge of panic and bolted towards the house, my heart pounding in my chest. I slammed the door shut behind me, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My parents, alarmed by my frantic entrance, asked what had happened. I tried to explain, but the words caught in my throat. My father grabbed a flashlight and headed outside, while my mother stayed with me, her face pale with worry. The minutes ticked by slowly, each one filled with a haunting sense of dread. When my father returned, he looked shaken, but found nothing. The eerie encounter left us all on edge. We double-checked the locks on the doors and windows, trying to reassure ourselves that we were safe. But sleep was elusive that night, my mind replaying the chilling sight of those glowing eyes and the haunting scream. The next day, I shared my experience with a few friends, hoping to make sense of it. Some suggested it might have been an animal, but deep down, I knew it was something more. As the days passed, the memory of that night stayed with me, casting a shadow over my thoughts. I avoided going outside after dark, fear of encountering the mysterious creature again too strong. The once comforting darkness now felt menacing, filled with unseen threats. The rural tranquility that I had always taken for granted was now tainted by a sense of eerie unease. Every night, I found myself glancing towards the field, half expecting to see those glowing eyes staring back at me. Weeks later, I heard rumors of similar encounters from neighbors. They spoke of strange sightings and eerie noises in the night, adding to the growing sense of fear in our community. It seemed I wasn't the only one who had experienced something unsettling. The stories varied, but the common thread was the chilling feeling of being watched, and the haunting sounds that accompanied the sightings. We all became more cautious, the sense of safety in our rural haven shattered. One evening, I decided to face my fear head-on. Armed with a flashlight and a sense of determination, I ventured back to the spot where I had seen the eyes. The night was quiet, the stars twinkling overhead. I shone the flashlight into the field, my heart racing. A beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but the familiar landscape. I felt a mix of relief and frustration. The eerie feeling was still there, but there was no sign of the creature. As I turned to head back to the house, I heard a faint rustling behind me. My heart skipped a beat as I spun around, flashlight beam dancing wildly. The field was empty, but the sense of being watched was stronger than ever. I quickly made my way back inside, my mind buzzing with question. The mystery of the glowing eyes and the chilling scream remained unsolved, a haunting reminder of that eerie night. In the years since, the memory of that encounter has stayed with me. It's a story I share cautiously, aware that not everyone will believe or understand. The rural Ontario night that was once filled with comforting sounds and sights has a new, eerie layer to it. The glowing eyes and the haunting scream are reminders of the unknown and the fear that can lurk in the most familiar places. My experience has taught me to respect the mysteries of the night and to always stay vigilant, even in the most serene settings. Visiting my girlfriend's father's cabin near Algonquin, Ontario, was supposed to be a relaxing getaway. Nestled deep in the woods, the cabin offered a perfect escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. The first few days were peaceful, filled with hikes, fishing, and cozy nights by the fire. But as our stay neared its end, an eerie series of events began to unfold, transforming our tranquil retreat into a chilling nightmare. One evening, we heard a strange noise outside the cabin. At first, we thought it might be a stray dog, but the sound was unlike any animal we had ever heard. It was a low, guttural growl, almost human in its intensity. My girlfriend and I exchanged nervous glances, trying to dismiss the eerie noise. But the feeling of being watched was palpable, sending chills down my spine. We decided to stay inside for the rest of the night, hoping the sound would go away. The next morning, we found tracks around the cabin. They looked like dog tracks, but were disturbingly large and oddly shaped. The sight was unsettling, adding to the eerie atmosphere. We tried to rationalize it, convincing ourselves it was just a large stray dog. But the memory of the previous night's growl made it hard to shake the feeling that something was off. We decided to stay vigilant and keep an eye out for any more signs of the strange creature. That evening, the growling returned, louder and closer than before. My girlfriend's father had told us stories of strange occurrences in the area, but we had always brushed them off as local legends. Now those stories felt hauntingly real. We locked all the doors and windows, the cabin suddenly feeling like a fragile barrier against the darkness outside. The growling continued, punctuated by eerie, almost human-like howls. The night was filled with tension, every sound making us jump. As we huddled inside, we heard something scratching at the door. My heart pounded as we grabbed the nearest objects for protection. The scratching grew more insistent, the door rattling on its hinges. We knew we had to do something. I mustered the courage to peek through the window, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The sight that greeted me was chilling. A dog-like creature, but its eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and its body seemed to shift and distort. The creature noticed me and let out a chilling howl, its body twisting in a grotesque manner. I recoiled in fear, realizing we were dealing with something far more sinister than a stray dog. My girlfriend whispered the word that sent shivers down my spine. Skinwalker. The stories her father had told us about shape-shifting creatures suddenly seemed all too real. We had to get out of there. We decided to make a run for the car. The creature continued to scratch at the door, its growls growing more ferocious. With a plan in place, we threw open the door and sprinted towards the car. The creature chased us, its movements unnaturally fast and fluid. My heart raced as I fumbled with the keys, finally managing to unlock the car. We jumped in, slamming the doors just as the creature reached us. The car engine roared to life, and we sped down the narrow dirt road, the creature's haunting howl echoing behind us. The drive back to the nearest town was tense, every shadow seeming to hide another threat. The eerie feeling of being watched stayed with us, even as we reached the safety of the town. We reported the incident to the local authorities, but they dismissed it as a wild animal sighting. We knew the truth was far more chilling. The experience left us shaken. Cabin, once a place of peace and refuge, was now tainted by the memory of that night. Creature's glowing eyes and unnatural movements haunted our thoughts. We couldn't shake the feeling that it was still out there, watching and waiting. The stories we had once dismissed as mere legends now held a terrifying reality. In the weeks that followed, we avoided the cabin, unable to face the memories. Sharing our story with friends and family brought a mix of disbelief and sympathy. Some suggested we had imagined it, but we knew what we had seen. The encounter had left a deep scar, a reminder of the unknown dangers that can lurk in the most unexpected places. The haunting memory of the Skinwalker became a part of our shared history, a chilling tale we would never forget. Reflecting on the experience, we realized how close we had come to something truly terrifying. The encounter had changed us, deepening our bond and our respect for the unknown. We continued to explore nature, but with a newfound caution and awareness. The Algonquin cabin incident served as a stark reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of understanding, waiting to be discovered by those brave or unfortunate enough to encounter them. Exploring the desert of eastern Washington with my friend Jake was supposed to be a fun and adventurous trip. We had packed our gear and set out early, eager to uncover the hidden beauty of the arid landscape. The vast expanse of sand and rock stretched out before us, a stark and hauntingly beautiful sight. The desert had an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of wind-blown sand. As we hiked deeper into the wilderness, we stumbled upon something that would change our lives forever. We found a circle of rocks, blackened by fire, with strange symbols etched into the stones. At the center of the circle lay a small, burnt doll, appearance both chilling and fascinating. The scene looked like the remnants of some ritual, and an unsettling feeling washed over us. The air around the circle felt thick and heavy, filled with an eerie energy. We exchanged uneasy glances, both feeling the haunting presence of something unseen. As we examined the site, we heard eerie laughter echoing through the desert. It was faint at first, but it grew louder and more menacing. My heart raced as I scanned the horizon, searching for the source. The desert, which had seemed so empty and desolate, now felt alive with unseen watchers. The laughter seemed to come from all directions, creating a disorienting and chilling effect. We decided it was time to leave, but our curiosity kept us rooted in place for a moment longer. Just as we turned to go, we spotted a downed power line not far from the ritual site. The wires sparked and hissed, creating a dangerous and haunting spectacle. We approached cautiously, the eerie laughter still echoing in our ears. The air around the power line crackled with electricity, adding to the sense of danger. We realized that one wrong step could lead to electrocution. The combination of the ritual site and the live wire made the desert feel like a supernatural trap. We decided to document what we had found, snapping a few photos of the ritual circle and the power line. The eerie feeling intensified, as if the desert itself disapproved of our presence. As we packed up our gear, the laughter grew louder, now accompanied by whispers that seemed to carry on the wind. The voices were unintelligible but filled with a malevolent tone. The desert, once a place of adventure, now felt like a haunting nightmare. As we hurried back to our car, the whispers followed us, growing more insistent. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the sand. Every shadow seemed to move, creating a chilling illusion, figures following us. My heart pounded with fear, every step feeling heavier as the desert seemed to close in around us. The eerie atmosphere was suffocating, and we both felt a desperate need to escape. Reaching the car, we threw our gear into the back and jumped in, slamming the doors shut. The desert outside was now cloaked in darkness, eerie laughter and whispers still audible. As we sped away, the headlights illuminated the barren landscape, but the sense of being watched remained. The haunting experience had left us both shaken and terrified. We didn't stop driving until we reached the nearest town, the desert's eerie grip finally loosening. We reported our findings to the local authorities, but they seemed skeptical. The ritual site and the downed power line were noted, but they dismissed the supernatural elements as figments of our imagination. Sharing our story with friends, we received a mix of fascination and disbelief. Some suggested we had encountered a cult, while others believed it was just an elaborate prank. But Jake and I knew the truth. The desert held a dark and chilling secret. In the weeks that followed, the memory of that day haunted us. The photos we had taken were blurry and indistinct, adding to the eerie mystery. The ritual circle and the haunting laughter stayed with us, casting a shadow over our everyday lives. We avoided the desert, unable to face the haunting memories. The experience had left a deep scar, a reminder of the unseen dangers that can lurk in the most unexpected places. Reflecting on the encounter, we realized how close we had come to something truly terrifying. The desert, with its stark beauty, now held a darker significance. The experience had deepened our bond and our respect for the unknown. We continued to explore nature, but with a newfound caution and awareness. The desert ritual discovery served as a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of understanding, waiting to be uncovered by those brave or unfortunate enough to find them. I remember that night, old remote motel, as if it happened yesterday. I'd checked in after a long drive, seeking only rest. As I lay in bed, the walls were thin enough to let through every creak and murmur. It was then that I overheard a chilling conversation from the next room. Two men were discussing a plan to rob the motel. My heart pounded as I strained to catch every word, feeling an eerie sensation crawling up my spine. The more I listened, clearer it became that these men were serious. They talked about weapons and how they would split the loot. My mind raced, trying to figure out what to do. Should I confront them? No, that was too dangerous. The thought of those men bursting into my room was haunting. I had to act fast, and I needed a plan that wouldn't tip them off. Quietly, I packed my things, all the while praying they wouldn't hear me. My hands trembled, making every zipper sound impossibly loud. Once I was ready, I slipped out of my room and headed towards the office. The hallway was deserted, adding to the eerie atmosphere. I finally reached the office, only to find it locked. Panic started to set in. I didn't have much time. I sprinted my car, hoping to find safety in the locked doors. As I drove away, I dialed 911, my voice shaking as I explained the situation to the dispatcher. I kept checking my rearview mirror, half expecting the robbers to be chasing me. The police assured me they were on their way, but I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. A short while later, I found a diner open late and decided to wait there. My coffee grew cold as I watched the clock, each minute dragging by. The news I got from the police once they caught the robbers was a mix of relief and lingering fear. They'd found weapons and masks, confirming my worst fears. I couldn't believe how close I'd come to danger. The police thanked me for my quick thinking, but I felt lucky to be alive. I couldn't help but replay the night's events in my mind, each time feeling more grateful for my escape. The memory of those men's voices still sends chills down my spine. It was an eerie reminder how quickly things could turn sinister. After that night, I avoided staying in remote motels whenever I could. The haunting experience taught me to trust my instincts and stay vigilant. Sometimes, I still think about what could have happened if I hadn't overheard that conversation. It's a chilling thought that keeps me cautious even now. The aftermath of that night lingered with me for a long time. I developed a habit of double-checking locks and staying alert to my surroundings. The eerie silence of a quiet motel hallway never felt the same. Even now, the memory serves as a reminder of how quickly life can take a terrifying turn. In the end, I was grateful for the police's quick response and for my own quick thinking. That night could have ended very differently. My story serves as a haunting reminder that sometimes our instincts are all we have to rely on in the face of danger. It was a lesson in trust and the chilling reality of the world we live in. The motel escape was a close call, but it also gave me a newfound appreciation for safety and awareness. It's a story I share with friends as a cautionary tale, a chilling experience that underscored the importance of staying alert. Each retelling brings back the eerie sensations, reminding me of the night I narrowly avoided a terrifying fate. Working as a handyman often means meeting a lot of different people, but one encounter turned into a chilling nightmare that I'll never forget. It started as a regular job. A friendly customer called me to fix a leaky pipe. The house was in a quiet neighborhood, and the man seemed pleasant enough. Little did I know he had sinister plans. As I worked in the basement, I felt a sudden, sharp pain at the back of my head. Darkness swallowed me whole. When I woke up, I was tied to a chair, my wrists and ankles bound tightly with rope. The room was dimly lit, and the air was thick with a haunting silence. Panic set in as I struggled against the ropes, but they wouldn't budge. The man entered the room, his friendly facade replaced with a menacing grin. He explained that he planned to hold me for ransom, thinking my family would pay a hefty sum for my return. My heart raced as the gravity of the situation sank in. The basement's eerie silence was occasionally broken by the man's unsettling mutterings, making the atmosphere even more terrifying. Determined to escape, I carefully observed my surroundings. Pipes and tools I had been working on were still scattered around. One of the pipes was within reach, and I knew it could be my ticket to freedom. I waited for the right moment, feigning compliance while my captor left the room. My hands trembled as I worked the pipe free, my mind racing with fear and hope. The next time the man returned, I was ready. As he approached, I swung the pipe with all my might, knocking him out cold. Adrenaline surged through me as I freed myself from the ropes and bolted up the stairs. The house was eerily silent, and every shadow seemed to whisper threats. I grabbed my phone and called the police, my heart pounding in my chest. The police arrived quickly, arresting the man and ensuring my safety. The whole ordeal felt surreal, like a haunting dream. The officers commended me for my bravery, but I couldn't shake the fear that lingered. The man's chilling grin and the eerie silence of the basement haunted my thought. I realized how close I had come to a far worse fate. In the days that followed, I found it hard to return to my normal routine. Every new customer made me wary, and the memory of that night sent shivers down my spine. My family's support helped, but the fear of what could have happened stayed with me. I installed extra security measures at home, hoping to reclaim some sense of safety. Reflecting on the experience, I felt a mixture of relief and lingering dread. The thought of being at the mercy of someone so sinister was terrifying. The haunting atmosphere of that basement and the man's chilling plans left a permanent mark on me. I learned to be more cautious, to trust my instincts, and to never take my safety for granted. The story of my kidnapping became a cautionary tale among my friends and family. It served as a reminder of the dangers that can lurk behind a friendly smile. I continued my work as a handyman, but with a renewed sense of vigilance. The chilling experience taught me the importance of staying alert and prepared for anything. Even now, the memory sends shivers down my spine. Eerie silence of the basement, the ropes cutting into my skin, and the man's haunting grin are forever etched in my mind. The experience changed me, deepening my awareness of the world's dangers. Being a handyman still brings me joy, but I'll never forget the day a routine job turned into a terrifying ordeal. Selling furniture online seemed like a harmless way to make some extra cash, but one transaction turned into a chilling ordeal. I had listed a few items on a popular marketplace, and a potential buyer expressed interest in a sofa. We arranged a time for him to come by and take a look. He seemed polite in his messages, and I didn't think twice about inviting him to my apartment. The man arrived on time and appeared friendly enough. He inspected the sofa, asked a few questions, and then left, saying he needed to think about it. The encounter seemed normal, but later that night, things took an eerie turn. I heard strange noises outside my apartment door, like someone trying to pick the lock. My heart raced as I peered through the peephole, seeing nothing but shadows. I brushed it off as paranoia and went to bed. But the next night, the noises returned. This time, they were more persistent. I felt a chilling sense of dread as I realized someone was trying to break in. I called the police, explaining the situation with a trembling voice. They arrived quickly but found no one. They advised me to increase my home security, and I took their advice to heart. Over the next few days, the man's messages became more frequent and intrusive. He asked bizarre questions and seemed to know details about my life that I hadn't shared. My apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt like a place of lurking danger. I installed new locks and a security system. The fear lingered. Every creak and shadow set my nerves on edge. One night, the noises outside my door were louder than ever. The security camera I had installed showed the man trying to force his way in. My blood ran cold as I watched him, his face twisted in a haunting grin. I called the police again, my voice barely steady. They arrived just in time, catching the man in the act. He was arrested, and I finally felt a sense of relief. The police told me that the man had a history of stalking, and that I had been lucky to catch him before things escalated. The thought of what could have happened sent shivers down my spine. The haunting grin on his face as he tried to break in was something I couldn't easily forget. I was grateful for the quick response of the police and the safety measures that had kept me secure. In the aftermath, I struggled to regain a sense of normalcy. The experience had left me shaken and wary of strangers. My home, once a place of comfort, now felt tainted by the intrusion. I talked to friends and family about the incident, and their support helped me cope. I also took self-defense classes, determined to feel more empowered and less vulnerable. Reflecting on the experience, I realized the importance of being cautious when dealing with strangers. Even in seemingly harmless situations, the man's polite demeanor had masked a sinister intent. And it was a chilling reminder of the dangers that can lurk beneath the surface. The memory of his haunting grin and the eerie nights spent listening for intruders remained with me. I continued to sell items online, but with far greater caution. I met potential buyers in public places and never shared personal information. The incident had taught me valuable lessons about trust and vigilance. It also deepened my appreciation for the safety measures that can protect us in our own homes. My apartment eventually became a sanctuary again, but the memory of the stalker's attempt to break in was always in the back of my mind. Even now, memory sends shivers down my spine. The sound of the lock being tampered with, the sight of the man's face on the security camera, and the fear that gripped me are forever etched in my mind. The experience changed me, making me more aware of the potential dangers in everyday interaction. My home security measures remain in place, constant reminder of the night a stalker tried to invade my sanctuary. Camping in the remote woods was supposed to be an adventurous escape for my friend Jack and me. We'd been planning this trip for months, eager to disconnect from the hustle of city life and immerse ourselves in nature. We found a secluded spot by a serene lake, set up our tent, and felt the weight of our daily stress melt away. First day was perfect, filled with fishing, hiking, and laughter. As night fell, we built a campfire and settled in, the crackling flames providing warmth and light. The forest around us was eerily quiet, but we chalked it up to the remote location. We shared stories under the starlit sky, completely unaware of the chilling events that were about to unfold. The stillness of the night felt peaceful, but also carried a haunting undertone. In the middle of the night, we were jolted awake by the sound of approaching footsteps. Before we could react, a group of men burst into our campsite. They were armed and aggressive, their faces hidden by masks. My heart pounded as they grabbed us, tying our hands and blindfolding us. The fear was overwhelming, and the eerie silence of the forest was replaced by our muffled cries. We were forced to march through the woods, stumbling over roots and rocks. The men spoke in hushed tones, their voices filled with menace. The journey felt like an eternity, every step heightening the terror. Finally, we were shoved into a cold, damp cabin and left there, bound and blindfolded. The air was thick with the scent of mold and decay, adding to the haunting atmosphere. Jack and I struggled to free ourselves, whispering words of encouragement to each other. The ropes were tight, cutting into our wrists, but we refused to give up. Hours passed, each one feeling like an eternity. The chilling realization that we might never escape gnawed at us. We listened intently for any sound, hoping for a chance to make our move. Suddenly, we heard the men arguing outside. Their voices were raised, and it seemed like a disagreement was brewing. Sensing an opportunity, Jack managed to wriggle his hands free and quickly untied me. We quietly searched the cabin for anything that could aid our escape. Finding a rusty old knife, we armed ourselves and waited for the right moment. The door creaked open, and one of the men entered. We attacked with all the strength we had, surprising him and knocking him out. Adrenaline coursed through our veins as we made our way out of the cabin, carefully avoiding the other men. The forest, once a place of peace, now felt like a labyrinth of fear. Every shadow seemed to hold a hidden threat. We ran through the woods, our breaths ragged and hearts pounding. The night was dark and disorienting. We pushed on, driven by the sheer will to survive. Finally, we reached our campsite, grabbed our gear, and bolted for the car. Eerie silence of the forest was now a welcome relief, a sign that we had escaped the nightmare. Once we reached the safety of a nearby town, we reported the incident to the police. They launched an investigation. The men were never found. The experience left us traumatized. The memory of that night, forever etched in our mind. The serene beauty of the woods now felt tainted by the haunting fear we had endured. Camping, once a beloved activity, now filled us with dread. Reflecting on the ordeal, I realized how quickly a peaceful retreat could turn into a horrifying experience. The men's hostility and our desperate escape had changed us. We became more cautious, always aware of our surroundings. The memory of their masked faces and the eerie silence of the forest haunted our dreams, a chilling reminder of the dangers that can lurk in the most unexpected places. Even now, the memory sends shivers down my spine. Cold cabin, the rustling leaves, and the men's threatening voices are forever imprinted in my mind. The experience taught us the importance of vigilance and the harsh reality that not all places of beauty are safe. Our camping trip in the remote woods had turned into a nightmare, a story we share with caution and fear. I'd been hunting in the vast wilderness for years, but nothing could prepare me for what happened on that fateful day. The sun was setting as I ventured deeper into the forest, hoping to find a perfect spot to set up my camp. I stumbled upon a cave entrance, half hidden by overgrown foliage. Curious and eager to explore, I decided to investigate, thinking it might make a good shelter. Inside the cave, the temperature dropped noticeably. My flashlight's beam cut through the darkness, revealing eerie rock formations and an unsettling silence. As I ventured further, I heard the faint murmur of voices echoing off the walls. My instincts screamed at me to leave, but curiosity kept me moving forward. The atmosphere grew more chilling with each step, as if the cave itself was alive. As I rounded a corner, I was struck by a horrifying sight. Several armed men huddled around a makeshift camp. Their equipment and weapons were scattered about, and their faces were obscured by masks. My heart raced as I realized I had stumbled upon their hideout. They were discussing something in low, urgent tones, oblivious to my presence. I backed away slowly, trying to make as little noise as possible. My attempt at stealth failed when I accidentally kicked a loose stone. The men's heads snapped towards me, and their expressions hardened. Panic surged through me as I turned to flee, but one of the men spotted me and yelled out. Their angry shouts filled the cave, and I could hear them scrambling to grab their weapons. I ran as fast as I could, my flashlight swinging wildly in the darkness. The chase was terrifying. The cave's twisting passages seemed endless, and the sound of the men's footsteps grew louder behind me. Every corner I turned led to more darkness, adding to the eerie sense of being hunted. I stumbled several times, barely managing to keep my footing. The oppressive darkness and the echoing shouts made the experience hauntingly surreal. I reached a narrow passage and squeezed through, hoping to gain some distance. My breath was ragged and my legs felt like lead. The cave was silent for a moment, and I dared to hope I had escaped. But as I paused to catch my breath, I heard a distant thud. The men were still searching for me. I knew I had to keep moving. Emerging from the cave's depths, I finally saw the fading light of dusk. The sight of the forest outside was a welcome relief, though the sense of danger was far from over. I sprinted towards the nearest trailhead, glancing back to ensure the men weren't in sight. My heart pounded in my chest, the haunting memory of the cave and the armed men still fresh in my mind. Once I reached a ranger station, I reported the encounter to the authorities. They launched a search but found no trace of the men. The cave was sealed off, and I was left with a sense of lingering unease. The chilling experience had left its mark, a reminder of how quickly a seemingly innocent exploration can turn into a nightmare. The memory of that night stayed with me, image of the masked men and the oppressive darkness of the cave haunting my thoughts. Even now, The sight of a cave entrance sends a shiver down my spine. The wilderness, once a place of solace, had revealed a darker side, teaching me to approach it with a newfound respect and caution. Reflecting on the ordeal, I realize how vulnerable we can be in unfamiliar territory. Cave's eerie silence and the men's menacing presence served as a stark reminder of the hidden dangers that can lurk in the most unsuspecting places. The wilderness, with all its beauty, also holds secrets that can turn a peaceful adventure into a chilling escape. It was supposed to be a quiet evening at home after a long day at work. I was settling into my apartment, savoring the comfort of my own space, when I noticed something odd. A slight change in the living room's layout seemed off, as if someone had tampered with it. My curiosity piqued. I started to check around, hoping to find a logical explanation for the unsettling feeling creeping up my spine. My suspicions grew when I found a small, inconspicuous device hidden behind a picture frame. It didn't look like much, just a plain, unremarkable object. However, as I examined it closer, I noticed a tiny lens peeking out from the side. My heart sank as the realization hit me. I had just discovered a hidden camera. The thought of someone watching me from the shadows was both chilling and infuriating. Panic set in as I began searching the apartment more thoroughly. The sense of being watched was overwhelming, and every creak of the floorboards seemed amplified. I found more cameras hidden in various spots, inside smoke detectors, behind vents, and even in the bathroom. Each discovery was more disturbing than the last, a haunting reminder of the invasion of privacy I was experiencing. I tried to remain calm and collected, though my hands trembled as I gathered evidence. I took photos of the cameras and made a mental note of their locations. The feeling of dread grew stronger with every minute I spent in that apartment. I knew I had to act fast to protect myself and get to the bottom of this eerie situation. After collecting the evidence, I called the police and reported the intrusion. The officers arrived promptly and began their investigation. They carefully examined the apartment, finding additional hidden cameras I hadn't discovered. The situation became increasingly unsettling as the reality of being targeted by a stalker sank in. Police assured me they would investigate and try to find out who was behind this. The following days were a blur of anxiety and fear. I moved temporarily to a friend's place, unable to shake the feeling of being followed. Every noise outside my temporary residence set me on edge. The police kept me updated, but the lack of immediate answers was both frustrating and unnerving. Finally, after several weeks of investigation, the police arrested a man who lived in a neighboring building. It turned out he had been watching not just me, but several other tenants as well. The revelation was both a relief and a shock. The sense of safety I had taken for granted was forever altered, and the once familiar space of my apartment now seemed hauntingly different. The experience left me deeply shaken and wary of my surroundings. I had always considered my apartment a sanctuary, but the hidden cameras had turned it into a place of fear. The sense of violation and the chilling realization of being watched from the shadows lingered long after the stalker was caught. Even now, I struggle to fully regain my sense of security. The experience has taught me the importance of vigilance and the need to protect my privacy. Every creak of the floorboards or glimpse of a shadow now feels like a potential threat, haunting reminder of the night I discovered the hidden cameras in my home. Reflecting on the ordeal, I realize how crucial it is to be aware of our surroundings and take steps to safeguard our privacy. The chilling encounter has reshaped my understanding of safety and trust, reminding me that even in the most familiar places, an eerie sense of danger can lurk just out of sight. We were driving along a remote highway in the middle of nowhere, enjoying the serenity of the open road. The sun was setting, casting an orange glow over the landscape, when we first noticed the truck. It was an old, beat-up vehicle that seemed to appear out of nowhere. At first, we thought nothing of it, But as the miles ticked by, the truck kept pace with us, its headlights glaring in our rearview mirror. As night fell, the truck's presence became increasingly eerie. Its high beams were blinding, and every time we tried to increase our speed, the truck matched it effortlessly. The feeling of being stalked by this menacing vehicle was unsettling, like a haunting presence following our every move. We tried to shake it by taking a series of turns and detours, but the truck was relentless, dogging our every maneuver. Tension mounted with every passing mile. We could see the truck's silhouette through the rearview mirror, its shadow growing larger and more ominous. My partner and I exchanged worried glances, each of us trying to come up with a plan to escape this unnerving pursuit. Our conversations turned frantic as we discussed potential ways to lose the truck and stay safe. In a desperate bid to get away, we pulled into a small, dimly lit town, hoping to find some semblance of safety. We parked the car in a well-lit area and watched as the truck slowed down, then came to a halt at the edge of town. My heart pounded in my chest as we saw the driver step out and survey the area, his figure silhouetted against the dim streetlight. It was a chilling sight, and we couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. We decided to call the police, explaining the situation and giving them our location. As we waited, we kept an eye on the truck, which remained parked but seemed to be watching us closely. The minutes dragged on, each second stretching out as the truck's presence loomed over us like a dark cloud. Every sound outside felt amplified, making us jump at the slightest noise. The police arrived shortly, and we recounted the entire ordeal. They approached the truck with caution, and after a tense few minutes, they discovered that the driver was indeed up to no good. The man had been following us for a sinister reason, though the exact motive remained unclear. The truck was impounded, and the driver was taken into custody. Despite the relief of having the threat removed, the experience left us deeply shaken. The thought of how close we came to a potentially dangerous encounter was haunting. We spent the rest of the night in a local motel, every creak of the building or flicker of a light making us jumpy and on edge. In the days that followed, we couldn't shake the lingering fear. The road trip, once a symbol of freedom and adventure, had become tainted by the eerie pursuit. The incident served as a grim reminder of how quickly a seemingly peaceful journey can turn into a terrifying ordeal. Looking back, I realize how important it is to stay alert and aware of your surroundings, especially when traveling. The haunting experience of being followed by that menacing truck has made me more cautious and vigilant. Every trip now carries a subtle edge of wariness, a reminder of the chilling encounter that turned our peaceful road trip into a nightmare. It was a crisp autumn afternoon when I decided to give a hitchhiker a ride. He was standing by the side of a desolate stretch of highway, his thumb out and a desperate look in his eyes. At the time, I didn't think much of it. He looked like he needed help. Little did I know, this seemingly ordinary act of kindness would soon turn into a chilling nightmare. The hitchhiker climbed into the car, and we started driving. First, he was quiet, making small talk about the weather and his plans. I noticed a subtle unease in his demeanor, but I brushed it off as nerves. Conversation felt normal enough. The atmosphere in the car began to shift when he suddenly became uncomfortably silent. As we approached a more secluded stretch of road, his behavior took a dark turn. Out of nowhere, he lunged at me, trying to grab the steering wheel and force the car off the road. The suddenness of his attack was terrifying. His eyes wild and his grip frighteningly strong. My heart raced as I fought to regain control of the vehicle. The struggle was intense and chaotic. I managed to push him away, but he wasn't giving up easily. He started shouting threats and demanding that I pull over, his voice filled with rage. I had to think quickly. With adrenaline pumping through my veins, I maneuvered the car erratically, trying to disorient him. Every second felt like an eternity, car's interior now a battleground of terror. I could see his crazed face in the rearview mirror, his violent outbursts and desperate attempts to wrest control from me chilling. The sense of vulnerability was overwhelming. Here I was, trapped in a confined space with a menacing threat. Spotting a small, well-lit rest area up ahead, I saw a chance for safety. With a burst of determination, I drove into the parking lot, hoping to find refuge among the people there. The hitchhiker, realizing his threats weren't working, began to calm down. I seized the opportunity to flee the car and ran toward the rest area. The police were called, arriving quickly and taking the hitchhiker into custody. It turned out he had a history of violent behavior and was wanted for various offenses. The ordeal left me shaken, haunted by the memory of his crazed eyes and the feeling of being trapped with someone so dangerous. In the aftermath, I struggled to regain my sense of security. The experience served as a harsh reminder of the risks involved in offering help to strangers. Every noise outside set me on edge. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that lingered. Reflecting on the ordeal, I realized the importance of vigilance and caution. The hitchhiker's sudden transformation from a seemingly desperate traveler to a violent attacker taught me a valuable lesson. Now, every time I see a hitchhiker, a shiver runs down my spine, a haunting reminder of that terrifying day. Even now, the memory sends chills through me. The sudden attack, the struggle for control, and the desperate escape are forever etched in my mind. The experience changed me, deepening my awareness of the potential dangers in everyday interactions. I've become more cautious, ever mindful of the haunting threat that once shared my car. As a lifeguard, my days were usually filled with sun, sand, and the occasional rescue. But one summer afternoon turned into something much more chilling. I was scanning the crowded beach when I noticed a group of men acting suspiciously. They seemed out of place, their eyes constantly scanning the children playing nearby. An eerie feeling washed over me, and I knew something was wrong. I decided to keep a close eye on them without drawing attention to myself. As I watched, it became clear they were targeting specific children, following their movements with an unsettling intensity. My gut told me this was more than just a case of overly cautious adults. The way they communicated, subtly and with purpose, was haunting. I knew I had to act before it was too late. Discreetly, I alerted the beach security and pointed out the men. Together, we formulated a plan to monitor their actions while keeping the beachgoers unaware of the potential danger. My heart raced as I watched the security team blend into the crowd, their radios crackling with updates. The atmosphere became increasingly eerie, knowing that at any moment, something terrible could happen. The men eventually made their move, attempting to lure a child away from the crowded area. My adrenaline surged as I signaled to the security team. We moved in quickly, surrounding the group before they could react. The look of shock and anger on their faces was chilling, but it was nothing compared to the relief I felt when we secured the child and led them back to safety. Police arrived shortly after, taking the men into custody. As the investigation unfolded, the true horror of the situation came to light. These men were part of a larger child trafficking ring, operating with precision and cruelty. The beach, once a place of joy and relaxation, now felt tainted by the eerie reality of what could have happened. The parents of the targeted children were beyond grateful, their tearful thanks a haunting reminder of the danger had been so close. The beach community rallied together, reinforcing safety measures and raising awareness. My colleagues and I underwent additional training, determined to prevent anything like this from happening again. In the days that followed, the beach felt different. The laughter of children playing was a comforting sound. The memory of that afternoon lingered. The haunting realization that such evil could be lurking in plain sight changed my perspective forever. I became more vigilant, more aware of the subtle signs of danger. Reflecting on the incident, I felt a mix of pride and sorrow. We had prevented a tragedy, but the knowledge of how close we had come was chilling. The bravery of the security team and the swift response of the police were commendable, yet the shadow of what could have been hung over us all. This experience taught me the importance of vigilance and the impact of trusting one's instinct. It was a stark reminder that beneath the surface of everyday life, there could be dark, chilling threats. Sharing this story with friends and colleagues, I emphasized the need for awareness and and readiness to act. The beach eventually returned to its usual lively state, but for me, every day was now colored by that haunting memory. It reinforced my commitment to ensuring the safety of all who visited. My story became a part of our training, chilling example of the importance of staying alert and proactive. The summer continued, but with a renewed sense of purpose. Each day, as I watched over the beach, I felt a deeper connection to the community I protected. It was a constant reminder of the thin line between safety and danger, and the role we all play in keeping each other safe. The desert heat was relentless as we worked at the Egyptian dig site. As an archaeologist, I lived for moments of discovery. That day brought something far more chilling than ancient artifacts. While examining a recently uncovered tomb, I noticed a group of men lurking at the edge of our camp. Their presence felt out of place, their actions too secretive to be mere curiosity. An eerie sense of danger hung in the air. Determined to understand what they were up to, I discreetly followed them one evening. Under the cover of darkness, they navigated the site with alarming familiarity. My heart raced as I realized they were smuggling artifacts. Watching them handle our precious finds with such disregard was haunting. I knew I had to act before they could escape with their loot. Returning to camp, I alerted the team leader, and together we devised a plan to catch the smugglers in the act. We set up a surveillance system, using hidden cameras and strategically placed personnel to monitor their movements. The days that followed were filled with tension, each new piece of evidence adding to the eerie realization of the scale of their operation. One night, as the smugglers began packing up a significant haul, we moved in. Confrontation was intense, their desperate attempts to flee adding to the chaos. The chilling sound of shouts and scuffles filled the air as we struggled to subdue them. Finally, with the help of local authorities, we managed to capture the entire group and secure the stolen artifact. The aftermath revealed a well-organized smuggling ring that had been operating under our noses for weeks. The police found hidden compartments and detailed plans outlining their operations. Dig site, once a place of scholarly pursuit, now felt tainted by the haunting reality of criminal activity. It was a stark reminder of how quickly things could turn sinister. In the days that followed, our team doubled down on security, implementing stricter protocols and working closely with local law enforcement. The sense of camaraderie among the archaeologists grew stronger, united by the shared experience of having thwarted the smugglers. Yet the eerie memory of that night lingered, reminder of the dangers that lurk even in the most unexpected places. Reflecting on the incident, I felt a mix of triumph and unease. We had protected our discoveries, but the chilling knowledge of how close we had come to losing them was ever present. Sharing the story with colleagues and students, I emphasized the importance of vigilance and the harsh realities of our field. The desert sun continued to beat down on us, but our spirits were undeterred. Each day brought new challenges and discoveries, yet the memory of the smugglers was a constant shadow. It reinforced our commitment to preserving history and the need to remain ever watchful. Our dig site eventually returned to its academic routine, but the experience had changed us all. It was a lesson in the unpredictability of life and the eerie realization that danger can strike anywhere. The story of the smugglers became a part of our shared history, a chilling reminder of the threats that accompany even the most noble pursuits. In the end, the incident served as a catalyst for stronger security measures and a renewed sense of purpose. Each artifact we unearthed was now a symbol of resilience and vigilance. My story, once shared in hushed tones around the campfire, became a legend among archaeologists, a haunting tale of courage and quick thinking in the face of unexpected danger. Camping in the Northern California wilderness was supposed to be a peaceful escape. The dense forest and the sound of rustling leaves offered a serene backdrop for my stealth camping trip. One evening, while sitting by the campfire, I heard an eerie rustling in the bushes. Initially, I thought it was just a curious animal, but the noise grew louder and more deliberate. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, sensing something chilling. I grabbed my flashlight and cautiously approached the source of the noise. Suddenly, a man lunged at me from the shadows, his face twisted with desperation and malice. He demanded my valuables, brandishing a knife. The sight of the weapon and his menacing presence were haunting. My mind raced as I tried to figure out how to escape this terrifying situation. Reacting quickly, I threw my backpack at him and bolted into the forest. The darkness and underbrush made running difficult, but adrenaline pushed me forward. My heart pounded in my chest as I navigated the eerie, unfamiliar terrain. The sound of footsteps behind me grew fainter, but the fear of being caught was a constant, chilling companion. After what felt like an eternity, I stumbled upon another campsite. A group of campers sat around their fire, their laughter a stark contrast to my harrowing experience. I burst into their circle, breathless and frantic, explaining my ordeal. Their expressions shifted from confusion to determination. One of them grabbed a heavy flashlight, ready to confront the attacker, while another called the police. The minutes dragged on as we waited for the authorities. The forest around us, eerily quiet. Eventually, the sound of sirens broke the silence. Police arrived and combed the area, managing to apprehend the man before he could escape. The relief that washed over me was immense. The memory of his attack remained haunting. In the days following the incident, I found it difficult to return to the forest alone. Once tranquil woods now felt sinister, shadows hiding potential threats. The support from my fellow campers and the swift action of the police were reassuring. Yet the haunting experience had left its mark. Sharing my story with friends, I emphasized the importance of being prepared and cautious even in seemingly safe environment. Reflecting on that night, I realized how quickly things could take a dark turn. The forest, once a place of solace, had become a reminder of the unpredictable dangers that lurk in the wild. My experience served as a chilling cautionary tale for other campers, a reminder to stay vigilant and always be ready to act. Gradually, I regained my confidence and returned to camping, but with a new perspective. The eerie memory of that attack had heightened my awareness, making me more mindful of my surroundings. Each trip into the wilderness was now approached with a mix of caution and appreciation for the beauty and unpredictability of nature. The attacker was eventually convicted, bringing a sense of closure to the ordeal. My story became a part of the local camping lore, a haunting reminder of the fine line between adventure and danger. It reinforced the need for community and the importance of looking out for one another in the great outdoors. As I continue to explore the wilderness, the memory of that night stays with me, a constant reminder of resilience and survival. The forest, with all its beauty and mystery, remains a place of refuge and reflection. My story serves as both a warning and an inspiration, highlighting the importance of vigilance and the strength found in unity and quick thinking.